This man is really amazing. Yunwoo put the knife on the other hand, shook off the blood oozing from his hand, pressed down the blood flowing in his body, and cut it hard. Ah, there was another heartrending roar, which made the clouds tremble. She saw a wisp of white smoke, which disappeared in the thick fog. You don't have to disguise anymore. It's something. Show its original shape quickly. Is shouting, in front of the thick fog but suddenly dissipated. In a flash, I went back to the hall just now, and at this time, the faint fragrance made Yunwoo feel comfortable. I couldn't help taking a deep breath and walking forward slowly. In the main hall, the long corridor is out of sight. And on both sides, just like walking lanterns, there are scenes of the past, which make the clouds dance for a while in a trance, but they walk forward slowly in a daze. Little 5. Behind him, suddenly appeared a person, gasping to hold the hand of Cloud Dance. In a twinkling, Yunwoo pulled the man's hand and threw it forward. The man fell to the ground and didn't get up for a long time. Shangguan. Yunwoo looked at the man who showed his teeth on the ground in surprise. He was puzzled in his eyes. He suddenly raised his sword and pointed to Shangguan's neck and said coldly, "Who are you?" "Oh, you really killed me. Don't you know me?" Shangguan kneaded his shoulder and stood up from the ground. "Anyway, we are also people who have had friendship with each other. How can you say that if you don't know me, you don't know me?" Cloud Dance can't help but frown. This glib tone is really like Shangguan. But now this kind of situation, still really don't know how to deal with, also true also false, let Cloud Dance suddenly have no idea, thought in the heart, still decided to help the upper official up, pick eyebrow to see him. "Where are you from?" Shangguan scratched his head and laughed. He turned his head to look at the fog over the hall and said, "I feel that those things came out of a door in the center of the hall." This sentence reminds Yunwoo. Looking up, the whole hall is divided into several floors, and there are countless small houses on each floor. I'm afraid these white things came out of the small house, but it's really difficult to find out which place is so dangerous. Let's go ahead and see if we can get out. Cloud Dance said, "Go forward." But I thought, in fact, there is such a person with me. Even if I know that this person is a spirit in the future, I can help myself before that. So, 2 men with weapons, toward the front of the dark corridor. Through the long hall corridor, they finally came to a huge door in front of them and carefully observed the situation around them. White air comes out from the dark door. The door seems to be hidden. It looks strange, but there is no problem. He turned his head and looked at Shangguan. Shangguan also came slowly and looked inside. He had a cold war. It's really a bit terrible here. It's dark inside. Why can't you see anything? Cloud Dance sneers. Guwoo big knife holds in hand, push the door hard open. In a flash, a cool air came towards the Cloud Dance. Entering the gate, Yunwoo saw a vast expanse of white, unable to see where it was. It's like being in chaos. There's nothing. Even at her feet, she can't step on the ground. She looks around and suddenly finds that the Shangguan around her is no longer there. Frowning tightly, Yunwoo still held the sword tightly, watched around warily, pursed his lips tightly, and sank his face. Although he seems to be floating in the void, but it can move, Yunwoo see the quiet side is strange, so he went forward on his own. I don't know how to go, but all directions in front of me seem to be the same. How to go by myself is nothing. This makes Yunwoo feel very scared. She doesn't know what to do next to get out of here, so she has to move on. Suddenly, a large group of people in front of him rushed towards Yunwoo. Yunwoo turned pale with fright, and quickly came forward to chop out the ancient martial arts sword. Suddenly a roar came, and the man in black in front of him turned into a white fog and disappeared in an instant. Yunwoo lowered his head, touched his chin and pondered for a long time. All of a sudden, right, so it is. I'm afraid these people are not real people, but developed from the white fog in this space. So they can appear and disappear from the white fog. They are not spirits at all. I'm afraid they are just the fog in the hall. Thinking about this, he had a general understanding in his heart. He raised his hand and waved a knife to chop the people in black in front of him. When these people were killed, Yunwoo found that there was a group of people running towards him not far away. Heart cold hum. Cloud Dance picked up the big knife and then rushed in front, raised his hand and cut. Sure enough, after those people were killed, they all turned into smoke and disappeared in the white fog. Then, in a flash, a group of people appeared again, chopping towards the cloud. But with such inexhaustible energy, it's impossible to cut down these people. Thinking about this, Yunwoo looked around and saw that no one stopped him, so he ran in one direction. So countless people with long swords rushed towards Yunwoo, and they were beheaded one by one and turned into smoke. Cloud Dance did not stop. This place, no matter what, feel very suspicious, but there will always be exports, so think. So Yunwoo speeds up and advances in one direction, frowning slightly and looking behind from time to time. After leaving for a long time, but still didn't see the side, Yunwoo was a little frustrated and helpless. In such a big place, he didn't even give me a place to stay. Is thinking, suddenly, in front of a room-like place, a door, is open to himself. Cloud Dance slightly ponder, or choose to go in. This time, the whole door has changed its scenery. There are countless mountains, rivers, flowers, birds, fish and insects. After entering the door in a trance, the door behind disappears and turns into rockery and fish and insects. What is this place? Yunwoo frowned and looked at it with a big knife. This place looks like a small yard, but the layout of the yard must be very uncomfortable. It looks like a array. Yes, that's right. It's a battle. Yunwoo was pleasantly surprised. Looking at the rockery, flowers and trees in front of her, although it didn't look different, Yunwoo closed her eyes and thought about it. Suddenly, all the places she had seen before appeared in front of her, which made her suddenly a flash of inspiration. As expected, I found that the rockery and river in this courtyard are actually a detail of the array, and each scenery constitutes the array. Yunwoo smiles. She seems to understand something, so she goes to a stone table and chair, raises Guwoo's big knife and smashes the table with a bang. In an instant, countless people suddenly appeared around, chopping at the Cloud Dance. Cloud Dance suddenly surprised, quickly dodge, but those people have surrounded her. Toe light point, clouds suddenly fly up, toward a rockery next to fly. Suddenly, the rockery, which was not very high, saw the whole formation clearly. Suddenly, it flew down and ran towards a pine tree. In an instant, it cut off the pine tree and threw it aside. Only before the meeting, the body of the man in black twisted for a moment and seemed to disappear. The Cloud Dance heart way is very good, suddenly sends the strength, smashed the entire courtyard. I finally understand. The cloud dances the corner of the mouth to stir up a smile that has a sense of accomplishment. Originally everything here is a mirage, just a ring sets a ring, let a person see not to come to the clue. Then he ran to a Warcraft sculpture in the center of the array. Behind him, countless people in black rushed towards Yunwoo. It seemed that they were trying to stop it, but it was too late. Yunwoo suddenly smashed the sculpture in front of them. In an instant, the whole space twisted and became white. At last, nothing could be seen. Comfortable. It's more comfortable than ever. Yunwoo couldn't help but close her eyes, but she felt like she was in her own home. After several days of sleepiness, Yunwoo finally closed her eyes and couldn't open them. Now, everything is quiet. Yunwoo took a deep breath, closed his eyes and felt the warmth of spring. He was in a trance, and then he didn't know anything. The chaotic space and the soft white light envelop Yunwoo again. It is clear that there is no injury on the surface, but the expression on Yunwoo's face is much more painful than the first level. Finally, Yunwoo, who was wrapped in the soft white light, slowly opened his eyes. His eyes, which were always bright and fearless, were confused. He seemed to be wondering where he was at this time. Awake? The genial voice rang out and instantly pulled Yunwoo back to reality. Cloud Dancer Zheng, quickly get up to look around, but still didn't see the figure that speak. In my mind, I tasted everything that happened before, and Cloud Dance was relieved. Haha, you look scared. The kind voice said with a smile, but there was no meaning of ridicule between the words, but there was obvious appreciation. That's what you mean by Qingguan. Cloud Dance Light said, although still palpitating, but did not show, and at the same time in the celebration, fortunately, those are just dreams. That's right. The voice suddenly became serious. If you want to be a master, you have to have your own attitude towards the people around you, to friends, relatives, enemies, lovers. Your attitude shows how you are. At the critical moment, you can see whether you are a hypocrite or a real villain. Cloud Dance's a corner of mouth to hook, ask away, that I am what? The voice paused. Obviously your friends have said not to let you forward, but you have to protect them, so you are not a hypocrite or a real villain. But to put it bluntly, you are a madman. Ha ha ha. Yunwu looks up and laughs, as if she wants to express her fear and fantasy. Yes, she's a lunatic. But no matter when, she can't give up her friends, even if there is only a glimmer of hope. In the moment of fantasy, she knew that as long as she left, her friend would die. I've passed the second level. Cloud Dance stopped laughing and said. She remembers what someone promised her before the second level. Yes, you have. The voice said, girl, I know what you're thinking. Don't worry, I won't go back on my promise. But you have to think about the third level. Cloud Dance eyebrows pick, oh. What can I do for you? The third level was originally intended to be adjusted according to the situation of the first two levels, but there was a bet between you and me, so I had to change the third level temporarily. Having said that, in the original void space, a figure suddenly came out. Cloud Dance looked at the past, and saw a gray-haired old man appeared in front of him, surrounded by the white light, as if there was a real immortal spirit. With a long beard and a long shirt, he was the incarnation of Lao Jun with a brush in his hand. Cloud Dance, tut, too, think in the heart, the strength of such a high-strength ancient summoner, it seems to be so immortal. What? The little girl is not satisfied with my image? The old man asked when he saw the attitude of Yunwu. Not dissatisfied. Cloud Dance said, it's just that it doesn't match your strength. Ha ha ha. The old man said with a smile, you are a funny girl. I am very happy. But the third level should be passed. What is the third test? Cloud Dance asked. Strength. The old man said seriously. These words, Cloud Dance almost laughed out. Strength, isn't the first two tests strength? In those two levels, as long as one is not careful or the strength is slightly poor, he will be directly buried in those two levels. But at this time to the old man's mouth, unexpectedly only the third level is the test of strength? The old man saw the expression of Cloud Dance in his eyes, and naturally guessed the idea of Cloud Dance. At the moment, he raised his hand to touch his beard and said, although the first two passes seem difficult, they are actually drawn up according to the strength of the inheritor. Don't you find that there is nothing that can really threaten you? Even the strength of those Warcraft are much weaker than you. If I have real ability and want to set up a difficult level, I'm afraid you will fall down as early as the first level. Yunwu turned his lips, but he didn't doubt what the old man said. Thinking about the strength of the old man in front of him, he was afraid that if he was serious, he would fall down. How do you test the third level? Are you going to take me seriously? Cloud Dance picks eyebrow to ask away. That's right. The old man said seriously, did not feel Cloud Dance is joking. Yunwu was silent for a moment, and looked at the old man in front of him with burning eyes. There are not so many tricks in the third level. As long as you can take my 3 moves, you will be considered to have passed the level. How? It's very simple. Yunwu wants to despise the old man from the bottom of his heart. From the ancient summoner's 3 moves, let alone 3 moves, Cloud Dance has no doubt that the other party will directly take their own life as long as 1 move. I want to know, what form are you now? Cloud Dance did not answer the old man's question, but put forward another question. Ha ha ha, you are a careful observer. The old man laughed and said, my real body has long fallen. At this time, I only have a breath in front of you. I specially used it to guard the tomb and look for the inheritor. Therefore, the current strength is only 1/10 of the peak period. As for my strength in my peak period, I'm afraid you won't know. Only when you get to that state can you know the horror of that state. If you can successfully accept my inheritance today, you can reach that realm within a short time. Of course, you can choose to give up. You have passed the previous 2 levels. You can take away 2/3 of the power in the jade metal. Although it is not a real inheritance, it is enough to help you improve a lot. Yunwu didn't become excited because of the old man's words, on the contrary, she had more confidence in her eyes. Only 1/10 of the strength. Yunwu squinted and thought. Although the old man said it was light, Yunwu guessed in his heart how powerful the old man was at his peak. I'm afraid that 1/10 of his strength is much stronger than that of himself now. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to take 3 moves and win. But if you want to accept the inheritance, you must pass this pass. As for withdrawal, only 2/3 of the power in the jade metal. The choice of Cloud Dance has never been considered. Okay, I'll take it. Cloud danced to force of point to nod, firm say. At the moment when Yunwu said this, the surrounding scene changed again, the white soft light disappeared directly, and he went straight to a boundless wasteland. Then, the figure of the old man appeared in front of him. Out of the white space, the old man's side is still emitting a faint white light. Under the background of the surrounding environment, he is even more immortal than before in the soft white space. Girl, get ready. I won't do favoritism. The old man said with a smile, as if he was not the one who was going to attack Yunwu next. Cloud Dance is a serious nod. The next moment, the purple fighting spirit appeared directly on the body, wrapped his whole body, like a layer of purple armor. If it's outside, this purple suit will surely be sought after by people. After all, purple fighting spirit is the best fighting spirit. If anyone's fighting spirit is purple, he will be treated well. It's a symbol of talent. But fell into the old man's eyes, but did not feel surprised, as if this is the thing should have been in general. Well, purple is aggressive, not bad. The old man nodded and said, the person Xiaojiu likes really has some talent. Yunwu is not moved, and she is not complacent because of the old man's words. She doesn't think she can resist the old man's attack only by virtue of this layer of fighting spirit. The next moment, Yunwu spared no effort to mobilize the power of the elements in her body, forming a protective layer of different colors on her body. It's the first time I've met who in the whole department. The old man's eyes lit up. Then, Cloud Dance heart read a move, those layers of protective layer actually directly condensed together. Finally, it turned into a colorful protective layer, which wrapped the Cloud Dance tightly. This. The old man was moved at last. It's not easy for the whole department summoner to practice, not to mention the multi-department summoner. Besides taking more time, the most important thing is that he can't control the balance between the elements. But now, Cloud Dance can use all the elements at one time, and it can achieve such a balance. Cloud Dance at this time has used all the strength to resist, but the heart is still some spectrum. The control of the 7 elements is very difficult, and she can only use them for defense. If she uses the 7 elements to attack, she still can't do it now. I'm ready. Let's go. Cloud Dance looked up at the old man in front of the firm said. The old man also put on a serious look, well, in that case, I'll do it. After that, the body slowly rose up, hands raised at the same time, and the 2 palms condensed the elements of thunder and space. Then, the old man's hands slowly close, and the 2 elements in those 2 hands are also rapidly fused together. Yunwu was a little surprised. No wonder the old man was only slightly moved when he saw her move, but he was not as surprised as anyone he had seen before. It turned out that he had already found a way to fuse elements together. It seems that the old man is really not simple. Cloud Dance thought in the heart, a bit more cautious. On the old man's two palms, those two elements slowly condensed together, and finally suddenly turned into a dust. At this time, the old man looked more like the real emperor. The old man's eyes narrowed slightly. "Girl, I'm going to do it." After that, the two-color dust on his hand was picked up, and the old man threw it hard. The long white seemed to grow in an instant, and hit the protective layer of Cloud Dance hard. Boom, the protective layer that Cloud Dance makes painstakingly is broken directly. Yunwoo's body seemed to be a kite with broken line. It was hit hard and flew back heavily. After a long distance, it finally landed heavily on the ground. There was a burst of chi and blood in the chest, and it was dark in front of my eyes. Yunwoo covers his chest and presses down the injury caused by the powerful attack. "It's just the first blow. I only used brute force. It doesn't play the role of elements in penetrating into your body. You've become like this." The old man sighed and said, "Now I can give you another chance. Do you want to quit?" Yunwoo didn't get up from the ground until she recovered a little. "Give up." Cloud Dance corner of the mouth a hook, sneer and say, "I can never think of." The old man seemed to have guessed that the Cloud Dance was the answer, so he nodded and said nothing more. "Just a light reminder, prepare, this time, I will start to move the real thing." Yunwoo took a deep breath. Just like just now, he wrapped the purple fighting air around his body and stopped for a while, but did not mix the different elements together. Just now my mind was affected, and most of it was put on controlling the balance of elements, which was not conducive to my defense. So this time, Yunwoo learned a lesson, turning all elements into a protective layer, covering the outside layer by layer, the weakest in the outermost layer, and the toughest in the innermost layer. Yunwoo's idea is to weaken the old man's attack power through the outer layer, so the more he gets to the back, the smaller the power will be, and the defense against explanation will not be so easy to break. After the completion of those protective layers, Yunwoo stabilized his mind and mobilized the power of Evil Bite in his body. Black energy appears in the innermost part to protect Cloud Dance tightly. With this layer of protection, Yunwoo feels relieved. "Let's go." Cloud Dance Light said, although it doesn't look different, but the old man still obviously heard Cloud Dance has been injured. The old man's heart moved. He even wanted to let the water go. This girl is excellent. In time, she will be able to do something. But on second thought, how can you change your original intention just because of a little girl? Now, the old man stabilized his mind. And just now in general, the whisk appeared again, and then left no spare force to attack the pass toward the cloud. This time, the protective layer of Yunwoo has not been destroyed, but the whole person flies out directly like an egg under the protection of layers of protective layer. In the mid-air, the protective layer is broken layer by layer, and finally the Cloud Dance is exposed between the landing. And just now the brute force is different. This time, the old man played a ray of power elements. At this time, Yunwoo was lying on the ground and had no strength to get up. A mouthful of blood gushed out, but he didn't feel any pain at all. He just twitched unconsciously, just like suffering from epilepsy. The silver lightning flickered on his body, almost turning Yunwoo into an electric man. After a long time, the silver light slowly disappeared, and Yunwoo finally regained consciousness. Then came the intense pain. The pain of being destroyed by thunder elements. The internal organs seem to be broken, and every inch of the body is suffering endless pain. Cloud Dance's brow is tightly wrinkling, gritting teeth to endure the pain. The old man stood not far away in silence, looking at the painful clouds on the ground. After a long time, he finally sighed, "I can give you all the strength in the jade metal. How about you leave?" Although the power of jade cannot be compared with inheritance, it can make many people excited. Yunwoo couldn't answer in pain, and without her answer, the old man would not help her. It was not until after a long time that I got used to the painful Cloud Dance that I was finally able to control my own strength. It was difficult to get up from the ground, look up at the old man in front of me and say, "Second move, I succeeded." Old Man Aleng, immediately in the eyes is full of moving, want to put cloud dance directly through the desire is more intense. There's a last resort. Cloud Dance coldly said, this time, I don't need to prepare. No preparation. The old man said in shock, as if he had heard something terrible, are you crazy? Even if you have made preparations, the first 2 times you have become like this. The third move is the most powerful one. What's more difficult is that your physical strength is completely different from the previous 2 times. At this time, you tell me you don't need to prepare? Do you already know you're going to lose, so you're not going to win? Cloud Dance pursed her lips and did not speak, trying to breathe. Under her control, the body is recovering a little bit. Although she was invaded by thunder elements, she also had thunder elements, so she could recover soon. But now the time is too short, even if she tried to recover a little, it is not enough for her to take the third move. Girl, are you serious? The old man saw that he had been talking for a long time, but Yunwoo always looked at himself with an expression, so he couldn't help asking. Cloud Dance nodded seriously and said, I'm serious. Third, you don't need to be prepared. The old man frowned. He couldn't figure out the Cloud Dance. Do you think I can't do it? I'll let you go. Cloud Dance sneered, I don't have that spare time to think so much. I said I don't need to be prepared, naturally because I have a better way to defend the third move than preparation. Oh. The old man thought about it and said, my attack speed is very fast. If you want to dodge, it's impossible to dodge the attack. I know. Yunwoo said, I just have other ways. In a word, I'll take the third move. Looking at the Cloud Dance, which didn't seem like a joke, the old man finally just sighed and said, okay, since you want to pick it up, then I will help you. You can take the third move. Success, inheritance is yours after that, the body back, this time, the hands of the dust did not appear again. After the 2 elements appeared in the hand, they condensed together again, but they directly turned into a tiger and rushed to the Cloud Dance. Roar, the fierce tiger formed very quickly. The streamer of the 2 elements changed constantly. It looked up and roared, as if it was a real beast. It could not see the energy body that was just the power of the elements. Yunwoo's eyes were firm, and his body was extremely weak compared with the fierce tiger. From the old man's point of view, she didn't see what she wanted to do. The old man frowned, and the tiger came directly to Yunwoo. With the force of momentum, he rushed to Yunwoo. Just when the old man thought Yunwoo would be knocked down by the tiger, a powerful explosion broke out in the place where Yunwoo was standing. Boom dash sound, huge mushroom cloud from the ground to the air continues to extend, polyester and cotton flying sand and stone, as if there is something terrible monster is about to be born. The old man quickly retreated. Now he was just breathing. After the test, his body would have become more transparent. If he was attacked again, he would disappear directly. By that time, the whole tomb would be left unattended. The mushroom cloud of explosion has been rising for a long time. The old man was eager to know what happened to Yunwoo, but he couldn't stand forward, so he could only wait. This girl broke my heart. She can't just die. I haven't given you my housekeeping skills yet. The old man said eagerly. At this time, I began to blame myself. It's just a test. As long as I'm satisfied, why do I have to be so serious and kill people? A good girl is not destroyed in their own hands. Girl, if you are still alive, my inheritance is yours. You have to be good. Seems to have heard the old man's words in general, the mushroom cloud gradually dispersed, one of the figures slowly appeared. The old man's eyes lit up in a flash. Girl? The old man asked cautiously, looking forward to it. Finally, the figure became more and more clear. In the thinner and thinner smoke, we could vaguely see that a deep pit was blown out, and Cloud Dance was at the bottom of the pit. The body is very thin, as if at any time can fall down in general, so stand in a prominent position. The old man's heart rose in an instant. The cold voice spread at this time. The third level, I broke through. The old man was stunned, and then a satisfied smile appeared on his face, affirming, "Congratulations, you passed the test. From today on, you are my successor." The sound of affirmation came, and Yunwoo was relieved at last. The next moment, the body straight back. "Girl." The old man's voice rang out eagerly. Then the hand directly turned into a brush, gently waved, a twist of the surrounding environment, and then returned to the space full of soft white light. Warm power will be wrapped in Yunwoo, into her body, a little bit of repair of the injury. Yunwoo just felt as if he was soaked in a hot spring. The breath that penetrated into his body was very gentle. Every trace of it was trying its best to repair the damaged part of his body. As time goes by, Yunwoo's injuries recover more and more. "This wench, how still don't wake up." The old man, who has become very light in color, rubs his hands anxiously and says that he feels that Yunwoo is no longer in danger of life, so he doesn't worry anymore. On the contrary, it's only a matter of time before he recovers such a strong aura in this space. At this time, he wanted Yunwoo to wake up immediately, so that he could hand over the inheritance to her. Finally, in the old man's eager eyes, Yunwoo opened his eyes. A pair of extremely bright eyes, in addition to a little pale, could not see that they had been so seriously injured before. "Hey, girl, you finally wake up," the old man said happily, looking at Yunwoo. His eyes were full of joy, and he was very satisfied with his successor. Yunwoo stretches some muscles and bones at will, and feels that the pain on the body has disappeared. The previous injury is much better. There is nothing special except some fatigue. Suddenly, she feels that the power here is amazing. It must be strong enough to have such effect. "Old man, I've passed all 3 levels. What you say counts." Yunwoo was in a good mood. He thought of the old man's promise before he fainted and put it forward at this time. "Don't worry, I've always said a lot. For your tenacity, even if you don't get through the 3 hurdles, I still think you are the successor." Ha ha ha. The old man was also in a good mood. He stretched out his hand and stroked his beard. He raised his head and laughed. As soon as the cloud danced around his mouth, he heard the old man smile. Then he put on a serious face and asked, "But tell me, how did you do it in the end?" "I just stood there and took my 3rd move." Yunwoo shrugged. "Anyway, it doesn't matter if he said it at this time. Well said, the best defense is attack. So in the last move, I didn't defend as I did in the previous 2 times, because I know very well that even if I use all my strength, I can't resist your move. In this way, it's better to let go and use all my strength to attack. Maybe I can succeed." "Attack?" The old man's eyes lit up. "What attack did you use? Can you even compete with my last fight?" Cloud Dance mouth a hook, hands a lift, 2 hands appeared on each of the 3 elements, and then said to the old man, "This is the attack." The next moment, Yunwoo hands slowly close, like the old man's dust, when 2 palms close, hands, paw, together. When unfolding again, a small ball of 6 colors will appear in the palm. Just now I took the risk of using 7 elements, and it hurt me a lot. But now it's just a show, so I'll show you 6 colors. What I can control 100% is 5 elements, but 6 are not proficient. As for 7, you can only use it when you're desperate. Cloud Dance is not proud, truthfully told his own situation. The old man had been shocked for a long time. Like Yunwoo, what shocked him was not the novelty of this move, but that the other side had the same effect as himself. And it seems that Cloud Dance has been able to skillfully use the 5 elements, which means that the other party does not have the idea after seeing their own dust. The younger generation is to be feared, the younger generation is to be feared. The old man said with emotion, his eyes full of surprise, "I can't imagine that you can integrate these 6 elements together, and use their mutual exclusion to achieve the purpose of attack. It's really smart." Cloud Dance mind micro-movement, careful to separate the 6 elements that are fused together, do not let them destroy each other, and finally carefully release the 6 elements, let them dissipate. I came up with this move by chance, and I used it a lot later. It's more than enough to use the great power caused by the repulsion between elements to resist your last move. Cloud Dance paused for a while, then said, just did not expect, finally or hurt, in the end is my strength is too weak. The strength of Emperor Wu is shocking to the world everywhere outside, not to mention being a summoner of the whole department, but Yunwu is not satisfied at all. In her opinion, if she was more powerful, everything she experienced in this tomb would be much easier. It doesn't matter if you are weak, you will be strong soon. The old man stroked his beard and said, I don't have much time, so I have to explain more to you now. Cloud Dance frowned, said, you say it. Haha, little girl is calm. The old man smiles kindly, you must be curious, why do I become more and more transparent? Originally, this tone is here to meet the challenge of inheritors. In the last pass, I will use my strength more or less. Unfortunately, no inheritor has passed the test of Xiaojiu for so long. You are the first and the last. I am very satisfied. Yunwu stood quietly listening, as if it was not her who was praised. I've changed the content of the last level just now. I use almost all my strength in this tone. I'm afraid that after I finish these words, I will disappear completely. At that time, you can only rely on your own efforts to inherit my inheritance. I don't know what to call the elder yet. Cloud Dance looked at the old man's almost transparent face and asked. Besides, since you have been able to leave a breath until now, is there no way to revive you? The old man shook his head slowly and said, no. Yunwu's eyes were slightly heavy and he didn't speak. I've lived for hundreds of years. I should have left long ago. It's enough to work hard now. If you want to call me, please call me Mr. Chen. That's what they called me at the beginning. Old Chen. Cloud Dance called out. Chen's eyes were slightly far away, as if he thought of things a long time ago, and said, you don't understand my strength now. When you get to a certain level in the future, just ask Xiaojiu. 3 passes through, when I disappear, you will be sent out by yourself, and here will be turned into a jade card again and fall into your hand. At that time, you only need to use a drop of blood, and the jade card will automatically open the inheritance. You must bear in mind that the inheritance must be completed in the tomb. Otherwise, if you leave the tomb, you will not be able to take out the jade card. It will be difficult to come in again at that time. Yunwu nodded, indicating that she had listened to Mr. Chen's words. Although I'm a dual summoner, my inheritance is not the element of thunder and space. In order to facilitate the inheritor's smooth inheritance, I can transform the strength of my life into the strength of the jade brand space. When inheriting, I can directly help you improve your realm. What I want to say is that the power is too huge, and your current strength is too low. If you feel uncomfortable in the process, even if you give up the rest of the power, don't try your best to devour it. Otherwise, once the power exceeds your physical bearing range, it will explode and die. The tomb is my lifelong collection. When you complete the inheritance, these things will be yours. At that time, take a good look. If you don't understand, ask Xiaojiu. Chen Lao's expression is very serious. When he comes here, his figure is almost invisible, but he is still trying to explain what he wants to say clearly. Cloud Dance nodded seriously. That's all I have to say. The rest depends on you. Mr. Chen has a long voice. Cloud Dance's eyes flashed slightly, looking at the figure who could only vaguely see the outline, suddenly asked in a voice, dare to ask Mr. Chen, what can I do to revive you? Haha, you really have a heart, but it's a pity that those who are left with a wisp of ghost can be mended. But I don't know how many years my soul has been destroyed. Now it's just a breath. It will dissipate in a moment, and there's no way to recover. After that, it seemed that he saw the loneliness in Yunwu's eyes. Chen chuckled and continued, you don't have to worry about it. I've lived for many years, and I've already lived enough. My biggest wish is to have an inheritance. Now this wish has been completed. If you take over my inheritance and have Xiaojiu to help you in the future, you will make a lot of progress. Chen Lao's voice is more distant, as if from a distant place, and his body also slowly dissipates with the sound. Yunwu felt a move in his heart. He suddenly bowed heavily to the place where the figure had disappeared. He said in a loud voice, "I must remember my master's instruction." In the white light, Yunwu seems to see the outline of Chen's body again. She raises her hand, smiles and strokes her beard. She looks at her with satisfaction, as if she is quite satisfied with her master. Chen's figure completely disappeared, the surrounding space suddenly twisted. Yunwu stood there quietly, waiting for what happened next. The next moment, Yunwu only felt the surrounding space shaking, and then he was excluded from the Jade Brand's space and appeared on the square again. "Look! It's Cloud Dance! She's out!" There was an exclamation in the square. Almost instantaneously, all those who were waiting to sit or lie in the square stood up. In full view of the public, Yunwu stood quietly on the altar, wrapped in a soft white light. All the people were just watching, but no one dared to go forward, just because of the soft white light. They all kept it in mind. It seems that this Cloud Dance can't get the jade medal. Someone looked at the jade plate still in the distance on the altar and said, "I don't think it's that easy to get. I think she probably failed the test." The other man followed closely. Their words fell into the ears of the people around them, and a group of people nodded. They would rather be this ending than Yunwu has got that thing. However, the past is contrary to our wishes. Finally, the light slowly dissipated. When the people were confused, they suddenly saw the jade plate which had nothing to do just now. Suddenly, it was full of light. The dazzling light was like the rising sun, which made people unable to look directly at it. Everyone raised their hands to block the dazzling light. The next moment, when they couldn't look directly at each other, the light suddenly closed and quickly got into the hands of Cloud Dancing. Peace returned to the square and everything seemed to have never happened. What happened? Huolinger opened his big eyes and looked at the Cloud Dance on the altar in front of him. He didn't come forward honestly. Just now the jade plate flickered too fast, no one noticed where the jade plate had gone. Although everyone knows that Yunwu is the one who is most likely to get the jade medal, and the thing is probably already on her, her appearance is too calm. "Master, she passed the test." Small 9 murmur of say, eyes is full of the color of shock. Although she is the summoner of Yunwu, she thinks that Yunwu can't pass the test from the bottom of her heart, but she didn't expect to pass it at last. Does this mean that the owner of the tomb has admitted Yunwu's identity? All of a sudden, Xiaojiu was very excited. He is not only excited that his former master has found a real successor, but also proud that the new master can pass the test of the old master. In this way, I can follow the master all the time. Unconsciously, the name of Xiaojiu has changed. When she saw the appearance of Yunwu, she knew that she had regarded Yunwu as her master. Huadeng and others on one side were even more shocked. In this case, the jade card must have fallen into Yunwu's hands, although it was a pity. But when you think about the fact that you have known so many great people, you just have to put down the loss in your heart. And a few people are different is, the Long Qing evil facial expression but sink down. There is no reason for him, because he has seen many people around him, staring at the Cloud Dance on the altar with shining eyes. Want to grab something from his little guy? Ask him whether he agrees or not. Cloud Dance opened her eyes, cold vision swept around the scene. I don't know if it's because she looks too mysterious, the cold vision just scared away those hot vision. Yunwu looked at the layout of the square and found that the position where she stood was in the middle of the square, surrounded by everyone. In this way, if people rush up, it will not be so defensive. At the moment, Yunwu slowly walked down from the altar to the team of Washishi town. What's going on? Did Yunwu get the jade medal? There was a voice of doubt. This question rings in the hearts of everyone waiting in the square, but no one knows the answer. And they all hope that someone can come out and ask Yunwu. It's better to snatch the jade medal, and they don't want to be the one, even the Lord of Mu. Knowing that Cloud Dance is a summoner and seeing the power of Nine-Tailed Fox, what courage does he have to be like before? What's more, he was not a very stupid person. Finally, Yunwu came to the body of Dragon Qingxie. Miss Cloud Dance, you. Huding just wanted to ask. But suddenly thought of the current situation is too embarrassed, just afraid of Cloud Dance to say the answer is to get or not, it is very difficult to do, so just to swallow the most words. Cloud Dance and Dragon Qing Evil look at each other, gently nodded, Dragon Qing Evil smile, said, "Oh, it's really troublesome." This sentence is so mindless that people can't understand it. Even some people in the square thought that Yunwu didn't get the jade medal, so there was such a saying. Then Cloud Dance turned to the Fire Tang and said, "Lord of Fire, I may need your help next." Huding was thinking about the meaning of Long Qingxie's words. When he heard this sentence, he couldn't react to it. As a result, Yunwu didn't explain it, so he went directly to the place behind the crowd against the wall. They all gave way one after another, and then they saw Yunwu facing the crowd, with his back close to the wall and sitting cross-legged directly. With the palm of his hand turned, a jade medal appeared in the palm of his hand. It's a jade card. It's really in her hands. Startled voice rang out, and then, the crowd saw Cloud Dance fingers turning, a drop of blood dropped on the jade again. This time, the jade brand flew directly to the top of Yunwu's head, and the visible power of the naked eye quickly poured into the top of Yunwu's head. Cloud Dance has long closed its eyes and practiced in front of everyone. She wants to absorb the power of the jade medal. "Stop her!" among the crowd, the Lord of Mu City yelled with red eyes. This sound, like a bomb, fell directly into the crowd and made a lot of noise. People no longer have scruples, crazy to the direction of Firestone Town rushed up. And Huding finally understood what Cloud Dance meant. Immediately and decisively in front of the crowd behind him ordered, "Protect Miss Yunwu." Yes, loud and orderly voice sounded, and the crowd quickly surrounded the Cloud Dance in the middle. Those crazy people came to us in an instant. Huolinger was placed in the position closest to Yunwu to protect her. As a young lady in Hushi Town, she had many good pills on her. She could not only take care of Yunwu, but also protect herself by the way. Long Qingxie, Xiaojiu, and Huding disperse and lead members of Hushi Town to resist one attack. Small 9 is unambiguous, directly open the animal body, the huge 9 tail will block that side of the solid, no matter how many people cannot rush in, let alone close to the Cloud Dance, even close to small 9 are difficult. The thunder element keeps flashing, a little bit ferocious is directly split into a mass of black. But after all, Xiaojiu was only the strength of Emperor Wu. After he became a summoner, even if he opened all the beasts, he was not as powerful as before. Fortunately, although there were a large number of attackers, there were not many experts. As for Long Qingxie, it's very safe. Wuling's strength is a piece of cake to deal with these people. However, Long Qingxie didn't kill all of them. On the contrary, he had a sharp eye. All the people in Yulin Town were killed directly, while others were half dead. Some of them didn't bother to go to great trouble and let them go. Slowly, people finally found that the weakest part of the encirclement is Huding. Listen to me, you city masters. Some of us specialize in one side. The other two are too powerful. We directly send our men to harass them. When we get the jade medal, we can divide the power equally. Mu City Lord Eyes Time Ruthless said, looking at in front of him called over all the city lord, eyes quite fierce. Lord Mu is right. Someone answered. Originally, the relationship between people and Hushi Town was not bad, even much better than Yulin Town. But now, who can take care of the relationship with whom? Interest is the most important thing. Since Yulin Town is willing to join hands, it's better to join hands for the time being. The benefits can't only be taken by Flint Town. After discussion, several Wuzong rushed directly to the fire. Huding's face sank instantly when he saw those people coming. Several city masters, do you really want to have a hard time with us in Flint Town? The voice of authority rings out, Fire Ting quite impolite say. Lord of Fire, it's you who are unrighteous first. You want to embezzle the treasure and give it to outsiders. No wonder we've joined hands. Muchengzu squints at Huidong and says coldly. In a few words, black and white will be directly reversed. Embezzlement? Injustice first. Huidong sneered, when did I steal the treasure in Flint Town? What Miss Yunwu got by virtue of her own ability, we just protect the law for her, but you say it was taken by us in Flint Town. Even if it's embezzlement, don't forget that you agreed at the beginning that you should get it by your ability. Yes? Now if you don't get it, you're going to bully people together. Cut the crap. What about bullying you? Mu's city trunk crisped directly toward the skin, angrily said. Fire. I advise you to get out of the way, otherwise, do you want to be against all of us because of that person? Where do you put Flint? Huidong sneered and did not speak. I have known for a long time that talking to the Lord of Mu City is like playing the lute to a cow. The black can be said to be white. Why does he talk nonsense? In that case, we'd better do it directly. 3 huge white tails stretched out, and then in front of the crowd turned into 3 little foxes with white hair, each with bright eyes. The voice of enchantment spreads immediately, more people bully less people, Lord of Fire, I'll help you. Huidong laughed and said to Xiaojiu, who only had 5 tails, without looking back, in that case, I would like to thank Miss Jiu. Small 9 corners of the mouth a hook, continue to take care of their own war situation. And Fire Teng here also thoroughly fight up. The whole square of the tomb fell into chaos. With the addition of Fox, Huidong had no difficulty in dealing with the crowd. Small 9 tails split out of the small fox also has the strength of Wuzong, the use of thunder elements is also a model, the speed is very fast. Even compared with the master of Wuzong, he was quick but not slow. For a moment, he directly made the master of Mu City and his party fall into an embarrassing situation. The outside world is in chaos, but Yunwu makes himself sink down to accept the energy in the Jade card. It is said that it is the energy in the Jade brand, but what we really accept is the power of inheritance guided by the Jade brand. Gentle thunder elements and space elements don't know what method to use to become a lot more gentle. The force of elements slowly flows into their own body and flows to the 4 limbs. Cloud Dance can feel the strength of their own constantly enhanced. All that happened outside had nothing to do with her. She knew that the strength of those people was too low, and that Dragon Qingxie was more than enough to deal with. She had to improve her strength as soon as possible to go out to help them. On the other side, Shangguan and Nangong Yi walk aimlessly. Where are we going? Shangguan sighed and looked at the long road ahead. At the beginning, we were scattered because of the teleportation array, so we should be able to join together towards the boundary of Mudu. Nangong Yi leads the horse and stands beside Shangguan. He is dressed in white like a fairy. Shangguan finally vomited his breath and shook his head helplessly, but who knows where we are now, and where is the boundary of Mudu? Nangong Yi pursed his mouth and didn't speak. It seemed that he didn't know. Anyway, find a place to rest first. Shangguan shrugged his shoulders, mounted his horse and headed for the road. Anyway, we have to find a place to eat first, and then have a good sleep. In this way, Nangong Yi suddenly felt his stomach empty, and his sense of fatigue suddenly made him sleepy. Then he nodded and frowned slightly. It seems that we are still far away from the place where there are people in front of us. The 2 of them looked at the sky and saw that the sky was already yellow. It was obvious that they were about to enter the night. Shangguan sighed, drove the horse forward a little distance, then got off the horse and sat down under a tree. Then we may spend the night here. The 2 men took all the things from their horses and put them on the ground. They found branches around them to set up a fire. Shangguan walked towards the woods again. Soon he came back with 2 rabbits in his hands. After a while, they managed to put the hare on the fire. Finally, they were relieved and leaned against the tree. I don't know what these people are doing. Shangguan mumbles to himself, turns his head and looks at Nangongji. He sees Nanganji sitting by the fire roasting a hare, dazed. Seeing this, Shengguan felt his nose and baked the rabbit at ease. After a while, it was completely dark, and the whole forest was dark, except for the fire nearby. From time to time, the cry of Warcraft came from not far away, which made them both be on guard. The forest at night is the most terrible and dangerous. The two men tore the meat from the hare. It was cool in the woods at night, which made people feel that it penetrated the bone marrow. I just hope we can make it through tonight, Shengguan said and sat down with his knees crossed. He was relieved to breathe. Nangong-yi turned his head and frowned at the woods behind him. Why do you always feel that it's a little strange around here? Nangong-yi said, has stood up, toward behind a dark place. Shengguan also opened his eyes, looked at the direction of Nanganji, stood up and walked towards the dark direction. Nanganji, what do you see? Shengguan frowned and asked curiously. Nangong-yi turns his head and makes a silent gesture to Shengguan. Then he sacrifices his sword and goes on. Two people side by side, quietly walking forward, no one said a word. Finally, they got closer and closer to the direction of the voice. Shengguan heard a loud noise in front of them, which made them look at each other and frown. They quietly approached the voice and squatted in the bush to observe. I saw a bright light ahead, and there was a camp in the woods. Countless men came and went, holding large bowls of wine, chatting and laughing, very happy. Who are these people? Shengguan asked quietly. Nangong-yi frowned and said nothing. Well, I said, we've made a lot of money this time. When we go back, we should celebrate with the people in the tribe. A big man with bare arms went to the campfire, touched a bowl with another man and drank it. I'm afraid that this caravan will find some experts to come and trouble us. The skinny little groom sat beside him and looked at a large group of people anxiously. In any case, this caravan is also the largest caravan in Liangjian City. They can't have predicted that. All of a sudden, a big man standing next to the coachman cursed. He kicked the coachman with a big foot and threw the weak coachman to the ground. He didn't stand up for a long time. Damn, you can't hope for a better day. Sooner or later, your mouth will kill you, the man spat and turned away. If we find what they call Liangjian City, maybe we can find the teleportation array, and we can go back to the boundary of Mudu. Shengguan said that he turned to seek the consent of Nangong-yi. Nangong-yi pursed his mouth and nodded gently, we just let them think that we are experts from Liangjianqing. The corners of his mouth lightly cocked up and said, tomorrow, people from Liangjianqing will come to look for this batch of goods. Shengguan looked at Nangong-yi doubtfully. For a long time, he didn't understand. He had to shake his head and sigh, okay, what you say is what I believe. Who is that over there? All of a sudden, a man over there roared. In an instant, countless men stood up and looked at Shengguan and Nanmi together. It's boring. Shengguan sighed helplessly, I still want to have a rest. I didn't expect that you found us. Then they stood out from behind the tree and walked towards a group of people. In an instant, the group of people took up arms and came to Nangong-yi. Who are you? We. The Shengguan took the long sword in his hand and walked over to several people. He laughed softly, you robbed my caravan. You asked me who I am. The man holding the bowl suddenly raised his eyebrows and looked at the groom beside him. Then he turned to look at Nangong-yi and the two of them. He suddenly raised his foot and kicked the groom out for a long time. He yelled, look at your broken mouth. How nice to be dead. The coachman's mouth, which was kicked by him, gushed blood and was in agony. He lay on the ground and couldn't stand up. Shengguan looked at it and was furious. He raised his sword to the man and said, you guys are so infuriating. I'm afraid we won't stand on the sidelines even if we're not entrusted by Liang Jianqing today. Those a few people listened to, immediately angry eyes circle open, take up a weapon to walk toward two people, newspaper your big name come. Daming? It's dirty, my name coming out of your mouth. Shengguan burst out laughing, wrapped in fighting spirit, and ran towards a large group of people in front of him. Nangong Yi's eyes narrowed slightly and followed him with his sword. Two people in a large group of people shuttle back and forth. After a while, a large number of people have been lying on the ground, cannot stand up. Shangguan was very arrogant and laughed. I thought it was a group of powerful people. It turned out to be a large group of straw bags. There are several powerful people. Instant seems to be burned red eyes, body wrapped in fighting gas towards the two people rushed. However, the minions were indeed minions. In less than a breath of incense, everyone had fallen to the ground one after another and began to howl. Shangguan shakes his sword and sits under the tree. He looks at the people rolling on the ground and sighs, I say you'd better not challenge our temper anymore and follow us. Otherwise, I'm afraid you can't go back to your tribe. Finally, the bandit leader reluctantly stood up, clenched his teeth, lowered his head and thought for a moment, finally raised his head and looked at them. In my memory, there are no experts like you in Liangjian City. I don't know what benefits Liangjian City has given them, but they have brought them out. Shangguan didn't speak. He scratched his head and sighed. Seeing that Shangguan didn't speak, the leader turned his head and looked at Nangong Yi. But Nangong Yi raised his mouth slightly and shook his head, no. No good. Are you teasing me? The leader gritted his teeth and said angrily, I think you are toasting instead of drinking. I tell you, this place is very close to our tribe. I advise you not to take care of this matter anymore. Otherwise, our people will arrive soon. If you go on like this, you will be the one who will lose. Shangguan and Nangong Yi seem to be in no hurry. They sit under the tree and say nothing. The leader was very impatient. He looked around with his subordinates and couldn't help shouting, just say it. What do you two want? What do you want? We want you to come back to Liangjian City with me. Shangguan sighed helplessly, no matter what, we have to give Liangjian City master an explanation, don't you think? The leader bowed his head and thought, very nervous, these two people were still. How can there be people who want to help others? Thinking about this, he raised his head and looked up at Shangguan, very serious. In this way, what we have robbed today, how about we split half? If you look around, people around you don't have much objection. After all, two people who have completely crushed a group of people can't dare to make mistakes in front of them. Shangguan looked at Nangong and asked quietly, otherwise, we'll ask if they have a teleportation array. Although the voice is small, the leader still hears it. He suddenly raises his head and says eagerly, transmission array. We have a teleport array here. In the heart a burst of surprise, Shangguan just wanted to stand up and ask, but was pressed by Nangong, light way, they are robbers, why do we cooperate with them? Shangguan patted the brain door and said, really, as soon as I heard that they had a teleportation array, I completely forgot the others. Sighed, no. We are the people who stick to morality and justice. We can't promise you. But, Liang Jiancheng, only one person has a teleportation array, and it still costs a lot of money. A lot of money. On hearing the heavy money, the Shangguan turned his head and looked at Nangong. Nangong bowed his head and laughed, it doesn't matter. We don't want your money. The leader said, as long as you let us go. Where do you want to go? We'll get it to you safely. I don't know what adults think. Shangguan turned his eyes and suddenly said with a smile, well, we can let you go, but you have to give me all the things you hijacked, or wait for the people from Liangjianqing to come, otherwise, I'm afraid we can't let you go. The leader turned his head and looked around. There were people who were easily knocked down by two people and couldn't get up, but they didn't have any scars. Thinking like this, I can't help swallowing my saliva, lowering my head, sweating, I don't know what to say. But Shangguan also murmured in his heart. He pulled Nangong up, walked behind the tree and whispered, do you think people from Liangjian City will come here to look for their lost goods? Nangong Yi raised a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, but he was confident, that's natural. After all, these goods are not simple goods. As long as we stand in the same place and wait for the people in Liangjianqing, they will definitely find them. Nan Gongyi turns his head and suddenly tiptoes to the back. Shangguan Leng, but see Nan Gongyi suddenly from in front of not far from the bush, pulled out a person. Want to run? A group of people, dejected sitting in the woods, one by one of the head, who dare not speak. Shangguan and Nan Gongyi sat cross-legged on both sides, and no one spoke. What to do? The leader secretly aimed at the two people in front of him, turned his head and asked the man beside him, "How can we escape?" What can we do? What can we do? The leader reluctantly scratched his head, sighed and leaned against the book. He raised his head and closed his eyes. I'm afraid we're going to end this time. With that, the leader was still looking around, looking for a way out. But two people just sit there, the gas field is so strong that they dare not move. A large group of people just sat there until the sky turned white. As soon as Shangguan opened his eyes, he saw Nanganji standing up and walking towards the front of the forest. Before long, there was a noise in the woods ahead, and then countless people and horses came to this side. Look for clues. Come on, someone over there said. I said, Chief, it's been a night. Those people won't be stupid enough to leave clues here. I don't think we need to waste our efforts. Do you understand the seriousness of this incident? Some people said, we can't afford this batch of goods. Countless people came this way. Nan Gongyi, dressed in white, came out from behind the tree and stood in front of a group of people. A group of people were stunned. Almost at the same time, they took out their weapons and quickly surrounded Nan Gongyi Tuan. Who are you? Some people roar, looking at Nan Gongyi, a moment of murderous. In Zion Nganji, I don't know your name. Nan Gongyi looks at the people with weapons around him, but he doesn't have the slightest precaution. He just turns around and walks behind him. Don't move. A man shouts to Nan Gongyi, holding his sword and shaking all over. Nan Gongyi's aura was so powerful that his whole body was shaking and his legs were shaking. But Nan Gongyi didn't care. He walked forward slowly, and the people in front of him kept retreating because of Nan Gongyi's progress, and his face became more and more pale. Don't worry, I won't do it with you. Nan Gongyi said, looking at it calmly, and then walking forward, it's just that I met someone who started with you last night. Everyone was stunned. Everyone looked at the people around him with suspicion. For a long time, the man who took the lead laughed, I don't know where you came from, but how can you make me believe you? Before the words fall, Nan Gongyi suddenly raises his hand and points to the back of the woods. Everyone looked forward curiously, only to see a barracks in front of us, and the unburned campfire and the burnt-out smoke. A large crowd sat by the campfire, huddling. Shangguan stood on one side and turned his head to see Nanganji, who was leading a group of people to the front. Oh, here you are. Nanganji, you are so powerful. As you expected, they are here. Almost everyone in front of him was stunned. People in Liangjianqing looked at a group of robbers sitting on the ground in front of him. Suddenly, a burst of anger in everyone's heart rushed to these people. You bandits! All of a sudden, everyone was in a mess. Nan Gongyi and Shangguan quietly withdraw from the chaos and leap to the tree. Sitting in the tree, Shangguan yawned bored, listening to the cry and fight under the tree. Nan Gongyi sat on the tree with cold eyes and didn't react. After a while, the voice under the tree finally quieted down. Shangguan looked down and saw that the people in Liangjian city had arrested the robbers and tied them together. One by one, they grabbed the carriage and left with the goods. The man, who was called the leader, stood under the tree and yelled at the two people on the tree, I hope you will forgive me for your doubts just now. Please come down and talk to me. Shangguan and Nan Gongyi look at each other, all jump down from the tree and stand with the man. It's just your family business, so we didn't interfere. Please forgive me. Nan Gongyi Dao bows to the man. Sorry, Gong Ren is the leader of a mercenary team in Liangjianqing. Gong Ren bowed himself in a hurry and looked very respectful. I really don't know how to thank you. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid we would all be dead this time. Gong Ren trembles excitedly, grabbing Shengguan and Nan Gongyi's arms and thanking them incessantly. This makes Nan Gongyi frown and draw his arm out of Gong Ren's hand without leaving a trace, and then step back 2 steps. I don't know if you can come to the city with me. Gong Rendao's eyes are full of sincerity. With a smile on his mouth, Shengguan turned to Nan Gongyi, then with a smile, pretended to be reluctant and nodded, okay, let's go back to explain the situation with you. Gong Ren can't wait to bow and make a gesture of please, taking 2 people to walk towards his own direction. Not long after, the 3 had seen the motorcade waiting outside the woods. Seeing the 3 people coming out, the team all stood up and bowed to them. Gong Ren ushered them into a carriage. After a while, he heard someone outside shouting that they were ready to leave, so all the cars went in the same direction. Anyway, I want to thank you for saving us. Gong Ren sighed, wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, and looked out of the window at the fading scenery. That's natural. If these weapons are intercepted by robbers, you will have to die. Nan Gongyi lowers his head and looks at Gong Ren with a smile. Gong Ren's whole body trembled, his face turned pale, and he even stammered, that, originally, you've seen the things in it? With a little smile, Nan Gongyi shows a mysterious smile. He doesn't speak. He just turns to look out of the window. All the way speechless, Gong Ren looks at the mysterious appearance of Nan Gongyi and Shengguan, and his face is gloomy. His master has mixed a lot of poison in the weapons of the city master. If these 2 people tell the city master about this, I'm afraid they will still be beheaded. Thinking about this, he took a deep breath and asked tentatively, I don't know if adults can see exactly what's inside. Nan Gongyi slightly raised the corner of his mouth, nodded gently, turned his head and stared at Gong Ren with a pair of beautiful eyes. So, you want to kill people? The cold sweat on Gong Ren's forehead immediately slipped before his voice fell. Gong Ren could not help shaking and swallowing. Seeing Gong Ren's timid appearance, the Shengguan finally couldn't help laughing, reached out and patted him on the shoulder and said, Don't worry, we just want to find a transmission array to send us back to the border of Mudu. There's no other requirement, so you can rest assured that we won't break your financial path. Gong Ren was very surprised and turned to Nan Gongyi. He saw Nan Gongyi sitting in the carriage and looking out of the window, but he didn't respond. He said in a hurry, If you say that, my lord, I can tell you that he has a teleportation array, but it usually costs a lot of money. Now I believe that he should be willing to use it for you. Shengguan looked at Gong Ren pleasantly and couldn't help asking, Really? Finally, the party came to the gate of Liangjian City. A few of them dismounted and asked their men to take the goods and robbers to the master's house. Gong Ren took his things out of the goods and put them in his luggage. So he led them, Gong Ren and others, to a mansion. The mansion was incredibly big. It seemed that it was not worse than the lord of the city. Shengguan couldn't help smacking, I think you mercenary leaders have a better life than the lord of the city. Gong Ren smiles, bows and leads them to the master's room. Before long, Gong Ren stopped in front of a house, turned his head and looked at Shengguan and Nan Gongyi behind him, indicating that they were here. Respectfully knocked on the door, Gong Ren outside said, Master, today our goods are found by these 2 people. Come in. There was a man's voice in the room, so the door was opened, and Shengguan went in. There was a very charming woman standing at the door of the room, twisting her waist at several people and giving a wink by the way. 3 people go in together, Shengguan and Nan Gongyi are arranged on the edge of a table, Gong Renlu has run to his master, quietly muttering something. Before long, I only heard the master ha-ha loudly. Then I picked up the wine bowl and said with a smile, no matter what, thanks to the 2 adults intercepting the goods that we were robbed, otherwise we might be finished. I'm going to take the next paycow. Said, picked up the wine bowl, must respect 2 people a bowl. Shengguan and Nan Gongyi have no choice but to report their names. They also take a bowl, take a sip and put it on the table. Pei Cao saw that they didn't seem to drink much, so he put down the wine cup and said faintly, "It's just that they are in urgent need of a teleportation array." On hearing this, Shangguan stood up anxiously and walked to Pei Cao. He was surprised. "So, do you really have a teleportation array that can send us to the boundary of Mudu? The boundary of Wood Capital?" Pei Cao and Gong Ren looked at each other and saw each other's face pale. I can venture to ask, why do you want to go to the boundary of Mudu?" Shangguan said with a smile, "Because we were attacked there and the whole teleportation array was destroyed, we were separated from our friends. Now we plan to go back to the boundary of Mudu from teleportation array." Pei Cao nodded, took a sip from his glass, looked down and thought for a long time. This time, he said, "In fact, if I lend you the teleportation array, it's okay to go back to the border of Mudu. However, the border of Mudu has become a desolate city now. If you go there, it's like death." Hearing this, Shangguan had no choice but to laugh. "Don't worry, we won't have any problems. After all, there are still many friends." All they can think of is to meet in the boundary of Mudu. Gong Ren looked at Pei Cao timidly, then turned his head to see Shangguan, Nangong and others. His brows wrinkled slightly. Pei Cao felt his chin, narrowed his eyes and thought carefully for a long time. Then he said slowly, "You know, this transmission array is not so easy." "Master!" Gong Ren shouts Pei Cao in a hurry. He is almost aware of what Pei Cao wants to say. Nangong Yi, with a faint smile, picked up his glass and sipped his wine. "Is Mr. Pei going to discuss with us the price of using the teleportation array?" With these words, Pei Cao's eyes in front of him immediately filled with light. He hurried forward and said, "What's your price?" Shangguan seemed to scratch his head in embarrassment. He couldn't help sighing. "What can we do? We don't have any money. Please forgive me. Can we use it?" When he heard that he had no money, Pei Cao's face immediately cooled down. "No money? I don't know what you think if you don't have money. Is this teleportation array available to anyone?" Gong Ren, who was already in a cold sweat, looked at Pei Cao in a panic and kept winking. But Pei Cao couldn't see it at all. His clothes were arrogant and domineering. "Why, do you have no money and just want to use it for nothing?" Shangguan seems very helpless. He turns to Gong Ren, with a smile of unknown meaning. Gong Ren's face turned pale and he swallowed. He looked down at Pei Cao, who was beside him. "That, master." Gong Ren scratched his head and frowned. He didn't know how to organize the language. Shangguan lips light pursed, a look at a good play, looking at the two people in front of him. "What? You don't look like people without money, do you? Why can't you even pay for it?" Pei Cao sneered and touched his chin. "I think you want to save our caravan for free." "So?" Shangguan rubbed his eyebrows and said, "As early as I said, when those people said they wanted to share the things with us, we should promise. In this case, we should have money." Pei Cao suddenly opened his eyes wide, his eyes seemed to be able to spray out anger. "What do you say?" Shangguan sighed, scratched his head and sighed, "Forget it, Nangongji, let's go. I think there should be a teleportation array there." Then they both stood up and walked out of the house. "That. Two adults." "Wait!" Gong Ren suddenly yelled, his voice trembled and he swallowed. But Shangguan and Nangongji have already walked out of the house and slammed the door. Gong Ren took a deep breath and was about to cry. He turned to Pei Cao and cried anxiously, "Don't let them go. They know our secret." Before finishing a sentence, Pei Cao was shocked. He opened his eyes to Gong Ren. He was angry and kicked Gong Ren's stomach. Gong Ren suddenly burst into blood and fell to the ground. "But master, the two of them are so powerful that we are not rivals at all. If we let them go like this, we will certainly have no good fruit to eat." Gong Ren coughs twice, spits out a mouthful of blood and grasps Pei Cao's leg. Pei Cao kicked him away and rushed out of the room. "You wait!" Pei Cao yelled at the two men who had just left, "Let's discuss it again." I'll let you go. Shangguan turned to Nangong Yi. Nangong Yi raised his mouth slightly, it's really troublesome. So Pei Cao, with a sad face, took 2 people to the teleport array. Our teleportation array is seldom used, so. Pei Cao scratched his head and laughed, if the transmission is not successful. Before he finished speaking, Nangong Yi's hand was already wrapped with purple fighting spirit. Pei Cao's face turned white because of his strong momentum. He swallowed the rest of his words and murmured, "Don't worry, you will succeed." So Shangguan and Nangongji both stand on the transmission array. Nangongji murmurs a few words in a low voice. In an instant, there is a white light, and their figures have disappeared. In a flash, their figures appeared in a valley. That is to say, we have reached the boundary of Mudu. Shangguan sighed, after so long, finally back. Nangong Yi also smiles and looks relaxed. They walked straight along the valley. And the desert has become a desert city of quicksand tribe, at this time everywhere is full of blood. Meng Bai helped Qi Yi out of the tribe. At this time, the news that the cannibal tribe was slaughtered has spread all over the desert. 2 people everywhere to find an inn to stay, Meng Bai helped Qi Yi's recuperate, soon has been better than half. The 2 packed and prepared to leave. Where should we go to find other people? Meng Bai asked. Looking around, there was a hot wind blowing in the barren desert. There were no more people except those around. We should go back to the border of Mudu. Qi Yi bowed his head for a long time and murmured, "We are separated from the boundary of Mudu. I think other people will try their best to return to the boundary of Mudu." Meng Bai frowned and sighed, "How can we find the transmission array? There is no teleportation array in the boundary of Mudu. Where should we teleport?" "Teleport, you ask me?" Around, suddenly came a voice, let Meng Bai and Qi Knight have turned to see. "Jia Zhong." Meng Bai opened his mouth and seemed surprised, "Where did you go?" "I thought you were eaten by cannibals when we slaughtered the city." Jia Zhong laughed, sat down and took a sip of tea, and said, "How can I die so easily? It's not too cheap for you. I haven't asked you for intelligence money yet." He turned to look at Qi Yi's and said hello with a smile. Meng Bai rushed over and was very surprised. "You mean, do you know where there is a transmission array?" "That's natural. My family has it." Jia Zhong looked at Meng Bai with a proud face. "That would be wonderful." Qi Yi drank the water in the cup, "Light way, then take us to your house, little sister." The water in Jia Zhong's mouth spewed out for a long time. He coughed violently and stopped for a long time. He looked at Qi Yi in surprise. "I said you too, why do you think I'm a sister?" "I'm really a man." Qi Yi didn't speak. He stood up and walked outside the inn. Meng Bai looks at Qi Yi going out, then turns his head and looks at Jia Zhong suspiciously. Then he goes out with Qi Yi. "Ah, I said you," Jia Zhong yelled. Just as he wanted to say something, he lowered his head and looked at his chest. He was also a little suspicious and blushed. He wrapped up his clothes and ran after them. After a while, several people were already standing at the door of Jia Zhong's house. "This is your home?" Meng Bai couldn't help opening his mouth. "Yes, I am the child of this tribal elder, so you can rest assured that I will not pit you." With a smile, Jia Zhong welcomed them in. "Jia Zhong, where are you going?" Suddenly, a voice came from the mansion, which attracted Meng Bai and Qi Yi's eyes. They turned their heads and took a meaningful look at Jia Zhong. Suddenly, they heard an extremely dignified voice behind them, "Jia Zhong. Come here for me." Jia Zhong vomits his tongue at Qi Yi's and Meng Bai, and walks to the old man behind him in a low voice. "At the end of the front is my room. You can wait there first. I'll tell my father about the situation, and he will agree you to use my transmission array. I'll trouble you, little sister." Qi Yi said with no expression on his face, but with a slight pick on the tip of his brow, and a look on his face like, "Do you see the truth?" made Jia Zhong blush and run away. "If it goes well, we may be able to leave tonight. Meng Bai sighed and sat on the bench of the corridor with Qi Yi's, looking at the scenery of the garden. Although it is in the desert, the garden is very elegant, and the small bridge and flowing water are luxurious. Just as they were admiring the furnishings of the whole mansion, there was a sudden sound of footwork behind them. They turned around and saw a dignified old man with a pretty girl coming out of the room behind them. I don't know if the two distinguished guests are coming here. I'm sorry to meet you. I'm Jia Xingqiao. The old man's gray hair, squinting and laughing, kind and dignified. Meng Bai and Qi Yi's also return a ceremony, each reported his name, then Jia Xingqiao took them to the main hall. At this time, Jia Zhong changed into a pink dress. His hair, which was originally high on the back of his head, is now all soft on the back of his head. It's amazing. Meng Bai and Qi were stunned for a long time. Then he exclaimed, it's such a beautiful little girl. Hearing Meng Bai's praise, Jia Zhong lowered his head shyly and laughed, who thought you were so smart? I can see that I'm a girl at a glance. My daughter is mischievous. It's really hard for you to take care of her all the way. Did she go to the place near the cannibal tribe to play again? Jia Xingqiao touched Jia Zhong's head lovingly and sat on the throne with Jia Zhong. I heard that there is a teleportation array in your house, so I asked Ling Qianjin to meet you. Meng Bai stands up with a smile and bows to Jia Xingqiao. You are very kind, young Xia. Jia Xingqiao quickly stood up and bowed to Meng Bai. He waved to the people around him. The heat around him took up trays and put them in front of them. He said, look, the two young Xia haven't eaten yet. Let's talk while eating. Meng Bai and Jia Xingqiao sat down and ate together. Listen to Jia Zhong, you two have slaughtered the cannibal tribe? Jia Xingqiao put the food in his mouth and looked at them with a smile. Young Xia, I don't know how much help you have done us. Many tribes and caravans in the desert have been attacked by quicksand tribes, so we call them cannibals. The cannibal tribe's whereabouts are uncertain all day, but many people are killed by this tribe. They eat human flesh. It's really cruel. Jia Xingqiao sighed, very distressed. Qi Yi's lowered his head and put a piece of meat in his mouth. As soon as he wanted to put it in his mouth, he suddenly remembered the bloody woman who had been cut down in the water prison. For a moment, he retched and put the meat down quietly. But now, young Xia, you have wiped out the whole tribe. I must tell the good news to the whole tribe. Jia Xingqiao laughed, picked up the wine cup and stood up. Let me, on behalf of all the tribes suffering from tea poisoning, offer you a glass of wine. Meng Bai and Qi Yi stand up in a hurry to cope. Until he was full of wine and food, Jia Xingqiao's cheeks were red and he laughed. He was obviously very happy. Looking at the two people in front of him, Jia Zhong seemed to be worried. He turned to shake Jia Xingqiao's sleeves and said, Dad, take them to the teleport array. I think they must have something very important. Jia Xingqiao narrowed his eyes, nodded, waved to the maid to remove the tableware, stood up and walked towards the door. You two, please follow me. Not long after, Jia Xingqiao and Jia Zhong took Meng Bai to the transmission array and said, I don't know where are you going. Meng Bai frowned, thought for a long time, and sighed, we are going to the boundary of Mudu, as long as we can send it to the nearby area. Finally, it's about to go. Qi Yi's looked at the transmission array in front of him and sighed. Can you still come back? Jia Zhong stood behind Jia Xingqiao and suddenly said timidly, looking at Meng Bai with one eye, pitiful. If we are destined, we can see each other again. Meng Bai lowers his head and smiles. He stands on the transmission line with Qi Yi's and waves to Jia Zhong. A white light, the moment will be 2 figures away. In ancient times, the summoner's tomb, on the most central square of the tomb, Cloud Dance closed her eyes and constantly absorbed the power passed by the jade plate. This power is extremely huge. Even after a long time, it seems that it has absorbed only a little. The transmitted power has not been reduced at all. Originally, Yunwu wanted to absorb them as soon as possible. At least he tried them. But it didn't take long for all the people who tried to win the jade medal from Yunwu to be defeated by Longqingxi. If they didn't bother to show their real strength, Longqingxi alone would be able to resist all the people here. Finally, as more and more people failed, they didn't realize how powerful the enemy they were facing until they all fell to the ground. It's boring. Small Nine Lazy said, that put out a few tails also all took back, finally all disappear. Those who fell to the ground all looked in horror at the three people who had gathered and stood in front of the Firestone team. Their eyes were full of horror. Come on, let's go, let's go. Some people said in horror, and then they got up from the ground one after another, took their companions with them, and retreated in a panic, as if they would stay forever after walking a little late. Damn it, the master of Moose City gritted his teeth and looked at the extremely safe cloud dance surrounded in the middle. His eyes were full of reluctance. But even so, the Lord of Moose City has no way to step forward. Lord, let's go, too. The entourage behind carefully said that if it were not for the Lord here, they would have left directly. Go Moose City Lord, a bite teeth, mercilessly say. Then he tried not to attract the attention of the three people and quickly withdrew. The leader of Mucheng, who has always been a man of the moment, actually has some talent in escape. I don't know if it's his luck or Longqingxie. They don't care about it at all, so they left safely. Not long after leaving the square, he directly collided with a man at the corner. The Lord of Moose City was seriously injured. He fell back directly under the collision. Before the people behind him could say anything, the people on the opposite side had already spoken. Well? Isn't this the Lord of Moose City? Why don't you go inside and go back instead? The refined voice rang out, but the tone was so poor. Mu Xiuming looked at him with a puzzled face and said, What do you want to say? Why don't you say it again? The master of Moose City complained repeatedly in his heart. He was bullied by Yunwu's friends just inside. He came out and ran into Yunwu's friends again. But these people's skills were more and more powerful. How could they be so unlucky? But then, the master of Moose City suddenly thought of something. Looking at Mu Xiuming's handsome face, he had a plan. There's just been a big fight inside. Now it's too late to hide. Who dares to go inside? The Lord of Moose City said with a serious face, looking very sincere, Alas, I didn't expect that this time it was in vain, and finally I made wedding clothes for the people in Huisher Town. Flint Town. Mu Xiuming was stunned for a moment. Making wedding clothes for Flint Town. Huolin, who was not far behind Mu Xiuming, could not help but brighten his eyes. Then he stepped forward and asked, What do you mean by that? Do you mean I live in Flint Town? The Lord of Moose City glanced at him coldly and hummed, I didn't expect that the Lord of Huisher Town should be such a person. It's clear that the inheritance has been obtained by Yunwu, but he didn't know where he got the experts and surrounded the Yunwu group. If Huling didn't protect him desperately, I'm afraid Yunwu would have died in Huisher Town long ago. As soon as he said this, Huolin went up and grabbed the Lord Mu's collar. What are you talking about? The city master can't be like that. How can the city master do such a thing when he clearly wants to make friends with Miss Yunwu? As soon as Huolin finished his words, he was directly attacked by the follower behind the Lord Mu. He was so emotional that he didn't have time to resist and flew a long distance. Stay away from our Lord. The people behind the Lord Mu received the eye prompt and said coldly, You are not qualified to question the Lord. Mu City Lord looked at Mu Xiuming and saw that he pursed his lips and did not speak. He did not know if he had listened to his words. Believe it or not, if it wasn't for Hudong, I wouldn't have suffered so much. If you don't believe it, just go and have a look. If you can save Yunwu. Having said that, the Lord of Moose City no longer stayed and left here with the people behind him. Huolin was very confused, but he couldn't believe that his lord would do something like that, but it didn't look like he was lying to see the attitude of the Lord. Let's go first. Lin Yuntong, who has not spoken for a long time, looks at their reaction and says. Before he had finished speaking, Mu Xiuming had already started. He ran towards the inside as fast as he could, and the two people behind him also kept up with him. A moment later, a figure quickly appeared on the square. As they heard from the master of Moose City, Yunwu was surrounded by people. Hualinger carefully protected her, and there was no one else in the square except the people in Huasher town. In such a scene, isn't Yunwu betrayed by Flint town? Mu Xiuming's face was extremely cold. He looked at the people sitting in front of them. Besides Huteng, there was a man and a woman around Huteng. Several people who are sitting together waiting for Yunwu to wake up think that no one dares to come again, but they find that another person comes soon after the crowd has dispersed. Long Qingxie turns to look at them, and then he sees a man in black looking at them angrily, with cold eyes. Why? This is not. Huteng looks at Mu Xiuming's face and suddenly feels very familiar. Then he remembers that this man is Yunwu's friend, but before he finishes speaking, Mu Xiuming rushes up directly. A long sword condenses from Mu Xiuming's hand, and then mercilessly attacks the dragon Qingxie 3 who are sitting in the front. The master of Flint Town. I'll see how tall you are. Mu Xiuming said coldly that the sword in his hand became red, and the rich fire elements lingered on it. The light of the sword flickered. Under a heavy blow, he directly hit a deep mark on the ground. Long Qingxie's hand is holding the fire tang that can't dodge, and his eyes are looking at him coldly. If it wasn't for his and Xiaojiu's quick action just now, I was afraid that Huteng would have died directly under the attack. Summoner. Small Nine surprised looking at the man in front of him, how did not think that he actually saw two summoners in a short period of time, and it seems that the strength of this summoner is not weak, is also a emperor. Isn't he a friend of Miss Cloud Dance? Huteng looks at Mu Xiuming in shock and feels that he can't think. What? Is he a friend of the master? Small Nine direct exclamation voice, how possible? At this time, Mu Xiuming didn't have the heart to deal with them at all. A blow made them hide to one side, and then rushed to Yunwu. Stop him. Dragon Qing evil cold voice command way, below block in front of Cloud Dance Flint Town members dare not neglect, have rushed to Wood Xiuming. What the hell is going on? Fire Tang anxiously said, both sides are Miss Cloud Dance's friends, how to fight? Little guy's friend? Long Qingxie sneered, I think I want to use others to get the jade medal. Now I see that the little guy has got it, and I finally show my true face. As soon as the words came out, Xiaojiu and Huteng suddenly clattered in their hearts. It seems that it's really possible. Whatever the reason, I'm the first one who wants to destroy the master's cultivation. After that, Small Nine directly rushed past, behind the huge nine tail spread out, force people's pressure mercilessly toward Wood Xiuming rolling past. Mu Xiuming wants to rush to Yunwu's side and clear away the people who are in front of him. But unexpectedly, there is a strong pressure behind him. It seems that the pressure comes from ancient times, which is very pressing. When Mu Xiuming turned his head, he saw a man with 9 huge fox tails standing in the air, looking at himself coldly. The next moment, the figure a flash, accompanied by a faint thunder, even directly flashing in front of their own. There was a faint smell of thunder elements in the air. Mu Xiuming was surprised, but the sword in his hand attacked him. No one took advantage of the collision. Mu Xiuming's body quickly retreated. Unexpectedly, a white tail didn't know when it came around behind him and rolled directly to him. Mu Xiuming quickly jumped out of the range of attack, but with such a jump, he was even farther away from the clouds. Warcraft? Mu Xiuming looks at Xiaojiu's coquettish face in surprise. His eyes are cold and enchanting. The pressure before is just emanating from her. Masuki Harimoto thought he was an expert, but after the fight, he found that the strength of the other side was not much different from that of himself, which was also the realm of Emperor Wu. If he could summon Warcraft, he would soon be able to defeat her, but now he was alone, so it was hard to start. Mu Xiuming frowned and looked at the cloud dancing behind her. I tell you, if you are smart, don't give up the idea of big jade card. Even if you get the jade card, you can't accept the inheritance. Why? Small nines see Mu Xiuming's line of sight, can't help but eyes a sink, voice cold warning. When Mu Xiuming saw that Huolinger was still standing there beside Yunwu, and at the same time he was surprised to see himself, he thought that his appearance was too sudden and shocked her. Moreover, it seemed that the people in Huoshi town didn't move because of Huolinger, so he was a little relieved. It seems that these people in Flint town are not bad to the core. Jade card? Well, do you really think I'm rare? Mu Xiuming hummed coldly, no longer talking nonsense. With a long sword in his hand, he rushed to Xiaojiu again. The two figures are fighting in one place, and the situation is extremely fierce. At this time, there are two more figures in the square. They are Lin Yuntong and Huolin. Lord Fire Lin a shout, instantly Fire Teng's line of sight attracted in the past. Mu Xiuming. What's going on? Why are you fighting? Lin Yuntong looked at the two entangled figures, rushed forward without saying a word, directly pulled Mu Xiuming's collar and pulled him down. The battle came to an end. Oh. Another one. Long Qingxie looks at the woman who pulls Mu Xiuming back and says coldly. You let me go. I have to kill them. Mu Xiuming struggles on Lin Yuntong's hand again, desperately wants to go forward. Mu Xiuming, calm down. Lin Yuntong hands a force, a wood Xiuming thrown aside. If you don't find out the truth, you'll beat people up, and you won't be afraid of being rude to you when Yunwu wakes up. Mu Xiuming just turned over from the ground and was ready to fight again. When he heard this, his actions stopped immediately. But when he thought about the situation of Cloud Dance, his face became cold again. How can I know? Didn't you see them surround the little dance group? But they didn't draw their swords. Lin Yuntong said seriously. As soon as the words came out, it made Mu Xiuming completely quiet. At this time, a white figure came directly in front of them. Mu Xiuming raised his head and saw a pretty-looking man looking down at him. Two people seemed to have inexplicable resentment between the general, look at each other. What are you looking at? Would Xiuming coldly asked, although Lin Yuntong's words have some truth, but before things are clear, he will remain vigilant. Long Qingxie raised his eyebrows, but his eyes were cold. Looking at Mu Xiuming, he said, those who want to hurt her, especially those who betray her, will not come to a good end. Mu Xiuming was stunned. Is that the Lord of Flint? But without waiting for him to think about the reason, Long Qingxie started directly. An épée appeared in his hand, and then he rushed directly to Mu Xiuming. The speed was no worse than that of Mu Xiuming in the realm of Emperor Wu. Get out of the way. Mu Xiuming pushes Lin Yuntong out and rushes forward to fight with Long Qingxie. This is the first time that Long Qingxie has been fighting with an expert since he was promoted. Although Mu Xiuming's strength is only Emperor Wu, he is much stronger than Xiaoyu Xiaoxia before, and Long Qingxie doesn't pay attention to him, so he doesn't do his best at all. Under the competition between them, it looks like a tie on the surface, but if Yunwu is sober at this time, he can see it at a glance come out. Mu Xiuming has fallen behind. Sister Yun, what should I do? Huolinger looks anxiously at the war situation outside, and really wants to rush out to ask clearly. But Long Qingxie told her before that she would never leave Yunwu, because this kind of large amount of power infused into the body is the most likely to cause problems. At that time, a pill is likely to save her life. Huolinger only dares to murmur in a low voice, but she doesn't dare to let Yunwu hear what she says. For fear that her anger will disturb her cultivation, she can only do it in a hurry. Yo, little sister, you seem to have a lot of skills. Can you bring him out directly? Mu Xiuming is entangled by Dragon's evil spirit. Lin Yuntong wanted to persuade him to fight. An enchanting woman blocks him directly. The huge nine-tail is smaller, but it still looks majestic. Lin Yuntong frowned and said, little sister. Who is the little sister? It's a joke. She has been married for a long time. Although she looks very young, she can't be called a little sister. What's more, this woman obviously looks down on her. Xiaojiu chuckled, and his face was full of charm. She's a warcraft that existed in ancient times. It's polite to call Lin Yuntong little sister. If you really talk about her age, I'm afraid you can call her ancestor. But at this time, she was too lazy to worry about it. You see, they are all fighting, and we can't do it, can't we? Since you're with him, I'll just clean you up. With that, the tail behind Xiaojiu became bigger again, then spread out directly, and finally turned into a little white fox around him, totally 9 of which surrounded Lin Yuntong. Lin Yuntong's face instantly sank down, looking at small 9 said, I don't want to fight with you. It's not about whether you want to or not. It's you who pick up the first thing. You have to make a result before you can continue to talk about things, don't you? After that, small 9 enchanted smile, gently raised the right hand, palm light flashing, finally merged into a sword. Thunder is warcraft. Lin Yuntong has seen a lot of things. At a glance, she can see Xiaojiu's real body, or the ancient beast. Are you the guardian beast of this tomb? I have a good eye. Small 9 said, just don't know your strength, let me try. Then, with an order, the 9 white foxes pounced on Lin Yuntong impolitely. Wait. Lin Yuntong suddenly thought of something and wanted to make it clear to Xiaojiu, but his voice just came out, and before he could say the following words, Xiaojiu's attack was in front of him. Xiaojiu in the realm of Emperor Wu and Lin Yuntong in the peak of Emperor Wu have an insurmountable gap between them. Although Xiaojiu didn't exert all his strength, Lin Yuntong had to resist with all his strength. He didn't even have time to speak. The explanation he just wanted to export was swallowed directly. On the other side, Huolin ran directly to Huiding's side, with a serious face, and asked, Lord, what's the matter? How can you? Then he took his eyes and looked at the cloud dance behind them. I'd like to ask you what's the matter. Huiding frowned and said, aren't they friends with Miss Yunwu? Why do you shout, fight and kill as soon as you come? This. As soon as he heard Huiding's name for Yunwu, Huolin knew that they had misunderstood each other. If Huisher town really turned over to Miss Yunwu, how could Huiding, as the city leader, be so polite? So Huolin immediately told some of them about meeting the Lord of Mu. The Lord of Mu City. It's disgusting, Huiding said fiercely, if you don't get the jade medal, you'll sow dissension. You want to use this move to make our nest chaotic. We are here to protect the Dharma for Miss Yunwu. How can we be the ones who want to win the jade medal? Lord. Until this time, Huolin finally understood that the 3 of them were taken by the Lord of Namu. Lord, what should we do now? They. On the square, Mu Xiuming fought fiercely, but they all had a tacit understanding. They were far away from Yunwu and others. For fear of disturbing her cultivation, even Mu Xiuming, who wanted to get close to her, rushed forward. In the duel between the experts, people below Wuzong can't intervene at all. Even if Huiding wants to get involved in the 2 battles, it's difficult, let alone someone else. No, they have to be stopped. Huiding said, if someone is injured on both sides, that is not the consequence he can bear. At the moment, regardless of their own safety, they went forward and looked at the 2 wars. They went directly to Lin Yuntong's side and yelled at them, don't fight. It's all a misunderstanding. Everyone is for Miss Yunwu. Please stop for a while and listen to my explanation. Explain it. If you want to explain, just say it. I'm not interested in stopping to listen to you. Mu Xiuming has been beaten by Long Qingxie. He has been holding his breath for a long time. At this time, Huiding just comes to the door, which makes him swear. Huiding's face turned blue and white for a while, but looking at the hot man, he weighed the speaker's strength and his own strength in his heart, swallowed the dissatisfaction, and said again, Young Xia, you are cheated by the city master. We are protecting the Dharma for Miss Yunwu. We don't mean to hurt her. Long Xiaoxia, little 9 girl, please stop. They are Miss Yunwu's friends. They mistakenly think that we are going to snatch the jade medal, so they are so desperate. He was worthy of being the leader of the city. After a few words, he told the story. As soon as the words were finished, the 4 people who were in full swing in the war stopped as if they had been splashed with cold water. Little guy's friend? Long Qingxia eyebrows picked, looking at the opposite Wu Xiuming said, protect her. Isn't it betrayal? Mu Xiuming then understood what the words before Long Qingxia meant. It turned out that his betrayal meant that he betrayed Yunwu's feelings. You fart. When will I do something wrong to my friends? It's you. Little dance is well cultivated there, but you have to squat beside it. What's wrong with your heart? Mu Xiuming has already believed Hudeng's words in his heart. When he thinks about it carefully, there are many suspicious places along the way. However, as soon as he hears Long Qingxia calling Cloud Dance so intimately, Mu Xiuming is angry with himself, and then he replies impolitely. The little fellow must have someone to protect the Dharma when he is practicing. As her husband, shouldn't I be with her? Long Qingxia feels Mu Xiuming's displeasure. He picks his eyebrows and says that his attitude is even more impolite. How dare this man covet the little guy? It's only been a long time since the separation. The little guy has new followers. It seems that he has to keep a close eye on people in the future. Long Qingxia's thoughts flashed in his heart, but his face was indifferent, as if he didn't see Mu Xiuming at all. What did you say? My husband Mu Xiuming widened his eyes and said, how can it be? When did Xiao Wu get married? How can there be a husband? Why can't we have a husband? Yes? Didn't she say that? Long Qingxia was very proud, but his face was still like, it seems that I have to remind her after her cultivation. Since you are her friend, let's protect the Dharma for her. Having said that, Long Qingxia said nothing more and turned to Yunwu. Mu Xiuming has just been the news of thunder outside Jiao inside tender, at this time to see the dragon evil self-confidence appearance, disdain to compete with himself, can't help thinking, is Xiao Wu really married? On the other hand, the battle between Lin Yuntong and Lin Yuntong also stopped. Since you are the host's friend, I won't embarrass you. You are not weak, and you seem to be very strange. If you have a chance in the future, I will fight you well. Xiaojiu said with a smile, looking at Lin Yuntong as if looking at his prey. As soon as he lifted his jade hand and waved his hand gently, the released foxes were called back one after another and turned into 9 tails and disappeared behind Xiaojiu. At this point, a farce is finally over, and Huolinger is finally relieved and sits down beside Yunwu. Hello, Lord, is that man really Xiao Wu's husband? Wu Xiuming does not give up the heart of drag to come back of Fire Tang, quietly asked. Hudeng was stunned and looked at Long Qingxia's figure. Then he thought about the 2 people's appearance when they were together. He nodded and said, yes, he always calls himself husband in front of Miss Yunwu. Ah. Mu Xiuming let out a disappointed voice, and then sat down dejected. Long Qingxia turned his back to them, and the corners of his mouth were slightly hooked up when they couldn't see him. The cold wind in the forest made them shiver, and the atmosphere became a little serious. Xiao Ran and Situ Lan were silent and sped forward quietly. After a day's galloping, they finally arrived at their destination. But before they entered the city, they saw a mass of red smoke rising in the city. Suddenly, Xiao Ran stamped his feet and shot forward, hurry up. Sister Huanxiang is in danger. Situ Lan's heart sank and he hastened to speed up. When he arrived at Wenj Island, Situ Lan was stunned, because he saw that there were soldiers who could not get up from the Magic Fragrance's residence, and the people around him were screaming and running away. From Magic Fragrance. Situ Lan is anxious in the heart, shouted, draw out long sword to rush in. As soon as I entered the room, I saw Tsong Huanxiang fall to the ground, coughing violently. Beside me, a group of people were standing, all pointing at Tsong Huanxiang with weapons. What are you doing? Situ Lanchong went forward and waved away all the people around him. He rushed in and picked up Tsong Huanxiang. He reached out to hold her by the wrist. His heart sank. Sure enough, he was poisoned by Huanxiang. I'm afraid it won't last long. What's the matter? you have to deal with a girl like this. Situ Lan lifted up from the magic incense, put it on the stool, and said in a low voice, you sit here to breathe. Xiao Ran and I will deal with these people in front of you. Just about to leave, but see from magic incense suddenly stretched out his hand to seize Situ Lan's arm, gritted his teeth and gasped, extremely hard, but hoarse mouth, Situ Lan, you don't fight with them, it's not good for you at all, they just come to me. Hearing this, Situ Lan couldn't help frowning. He arranged the magic incense and said, the grace of saving lives should be rewarded by Yongquan. Look up to Xiao Ran, but see Xiao Ran a pair of indifferent appearance, but a face vigilant looking at the elder Cheng in front of. Situ Lan sat up, but he didn't see the loss in the eyes of Huan Xiang. You are treason. Situ Lan coldly looks at elder Cheng in front of him, and his words are full of anger. Treason. Old Cheng snorted coldly, and sat on the stool behind him, holding the water channel that the little maid poured for him. I am rebellious? I've long thought that this woman is not agreeable to me. If she has no ability, she will become the leader of the island by virtue of her beauty. What kind of ability does she have? Now the people of Wengo Island are in dire straits. I think if we change the owner of the island as soon as possible, we will all live in peace. People in need. Situ Lan felt a little funny in his heart. This man was really lying with his eyes open. He held up his sword indifferently, and his whole body was suddenly wrapped by fighting spirit. Xiao Ran saw that Situ Lan was so wrapped by fighting spirit. In an instant, the air pressure of the whole room suddenly decreased. I think that the realm of the two of us can wipe out your whole army. If you don't want to leave here in disgrace today, I advise you to leave now. Situ Lan tugs at the corner of his mouth and a smile appears. The people on the scene actually looked at each other, and their eyes showed uneasiness. Xiao Ran and Situ Lan are in the same realm. If they have to fight for each other today, they will not be able to gain any advantage. With this in mind, Ching Chang hums coldly, raises his hand and asks the people behind him to put away his weapons, and says faintly, it doesn't matter. We cannot kill the enchantress today, but we want the enchantress before tomorrow night in front of the whole island. Give me the position of the island's owner. Xiao Ran wanted to say something more, but Situ Lan stopped him and winked. Those people did not dare to act rashly. After watching them for a while, they waved their hands and left. See the person in front of finally left, from magic incense finally vomit breath, suddenly fell from the chair. Scared, Xiao Ran rushes forward to pick up the magic fragrance and looks at Situ Lan. Situ Lan sighed, took back the sword, and said, take the magic incense to the house. I didn't expect that Xiao Ran, who was always dissatisfied with Situ Lan, now nodded very cleverly and turned away from the magic fragrance. Surprised for a long time, Situ Lan had no choice but to smile bitterly. He turned his head and looked out of the window. He saw that outside the mansion, there were already wars and chaos, chickens flying and dogs jumping, and cries everywhere. Thinking of the prosperity when I just came to the island, I was disappointed and sighed. I followed Xiao Ran to the inner room. Put her there. Situ Lan rode, Xiao Ran very obedient will from magic incense on the bed, and turned to see Situ Lan. In the heart is thinking about the next countermeasures, but heard the side from the magic fragrance light vomit a breath, turned to see, from the magic fragrance has opened his eyes, to Xiao Ran said, you go out first, I have something to say with Situ Lan. Xiao Ran's face changed slightly, but he didn't say anything. He turned and left. Hearing the door close gently, he suddenly laughed from the magic incense, and sighed helplessly, up to now, it's a child's temper, alas. He coughed twice, turned his head to see Situ Lan, and said faintly, Xiao Ran, a child, grew up under my protection all day long. When something happened, he didn't know what to do. At this time, he was at a loss. Situ Lan was dumbfounded, but changed the topic. Why did Elder Ching suddenly start at this time? From then on, Huan Xiang suddenly gave a bitter smile, but he was very helpless. He thought you were the rescuer I invited, but you suddenly disappeared. Just yesterday, another fleet of us at sea was suddenly attacked by pirates and suffered heavy losses. Mr. Ching may think this is the best time, so said, finally vomited a tone. Fortunately Xiao Ran found you in time, otherwise you may come back to see our bodies. Situ Lan bowed his head, thought for a long time, and finally said, now, I can only go to meet Elder Cheng and threaten him to take out the antidote. He bowed his head for a moment and sighed again. Don't worry. I have a way with this poison. From the magic incense smile, obviously a clear look, but I feel that after tomorrow, we will have no peace. Situ Lan saw from the magic incense said so, also vomited a tone, these days I come to protect your safety. He stood up and walked out, you can take good care of yourself. If you need anything, please call me at any time. He nodded from the magic incense and watched Situ Lan leave with a smile. Back to the residence arranged for him by Huanxiang, Situ Lan immediately sat cross-knee and carried out his work to adjust his breath. All these experiences in the forest left him with many scars. Now he finally had time to adjust his breath and recuperate. However, Wenj Island experienced such a catastrophe again, which made Situ Lan feel very heavy in his heart. After inspecting his body, Situ Lan found that he was full of fighting spirit and seemed to have some improvement. It seemed that breaking through the realm was just around the corner. However, he suddenly remembered that Elder Cheng said that he would negotiate with several people the next day, frowned slightly, and continue to sit cross-knee and concentrate on cultivation. If he broke through the realm in these days, it might be helpful for him to recapture Wenj Island from magic incense. It's very useful. But before long, I heard a sudden knock on the door. Situ Lan quickly opened his eyes and ran to open the door. There's something wrong with Sister Huanxiang. Xiao Ran stood outside Situ Lan's door, looking anxious. What's the matter? Situ Lanxin mentions his voice and rushes out of the room without saying a word. Xiao Ran follows behind him and runs into the room of Huaxiang. Seeing Song Huanxiang lying on the bed, his face was pale, his lips were bloody, and he seemed to be in a coma. This made Situ Lan very nervous. He went forward to hold Song Huanxiang's hand and examined it carefully. His face changed greatly. I didn't expect that this poison was developing so fast. He bowed his head and thought for a moment, then turned to push the door. Where are you going, young Xia? Xiao Ran suddenly stopped Situ Lan behind him and said anxiously, I think Sister Huanxiang is going to die now. Of course, I'm going to find that Elder Cheng for the antidote. So he went on. This poison of hers can persist till tomorrow. I'm with you. Xiao Ran frowned, pursed his pretty lips, took out his weapon, and went to Situ Lan. But Situ Lan shook his head and stopped him. Now you should stay by the side of Huanxiang to protect her, because if she is attacked, she will die. Xiao Ran Leng suddenly seemed to understand something, nodded, turned back to the room from the magic incense, shut the door. Night soon fell. Situ Lan looked at the mansion in front of him and frowned. The crowd that used to be bustling on the street is now empty, leaving only a piece of garbage and countless bleak leaves flying with the wind. When he looked around, it seemed that there was no one. He flew up and jumped into the mansion in front of him. In Elder Cheng's mansion, there is a lot of noise and lights. Countless guards inspect it. Situ Lan lowers his body and stares at the house in front of him. It's not hard to see that the biggest room in the center must be Elder Cheng's bedroom, and now there are countless people in it, coming and going, very busy. Situ Lan avoided the guard and jumped towards the house, lying under the window, listening quietly. I said, Elder Cheng, is this really okay? I don't think that poison has any effect on Song Huanxiang. In this way, Song Huanxiang will be more cautious about us. After all, she is the leader of the island, and her power is much stronger than ours. Having said that, our power is not weak either. I'm afraid we can frustrate her a lot if we add several elders together. She won't give us the island tomorrow. We have to have a strategy. Don't worry. I have the antidote for the poison in her body. If she doesn't agree tomorrow, I will throw the antidote into the sea. Within 2 days, she will fester and die. On hearing this, Situlan's eyes suddenly turned red, and his anger suddenly rose up. He kicked open the window and rushed in. There was a howl all over the room. Before he could resist, Situlan had already controlled Elder Cheng. He put his sword on Elder Cheng's neck and gritted his teeth. Where is the antidote? All of a sudden, all the people who haven't reacted just now take out their weapons and point at Situlan. But Situlan was not afraid at all. He put his sword against Elder Cheng's neck. Blood was flowing down his sword. Cheng Chang was in a panic and cried out, "Don't move, don't move. Put down your weapons." At this time, the door was suddenly knocked open, and in an instant, countless bodyguards swarmed in. The swords were facing each other, and countless people surrounded Situlan. But Situlan was not afraid. He held Elder Cheng in his hands, bowed his head and said in Elder Cheng's ear, "Where is the antidote? Or I'll kill you tonight." "Yes, in the cupboard over there." Elder Cheng was scared and quickly pointed to the opposite cabinet. Situlan slightly hooked the corner of his mouth, took Elder Cheng to the cupboard, pointed to the cupboard and said, "Give it to me." Elder Cheng shouts in a hurry, goes forward, takes out a small porcelain vase and hands it to Situlan. "Don't worry, the antidote of this small porcelain vase will never have any problem." With that, he laughed twice. Carefully scrutinizing the small porcelain bottle in hand, he opened it and looked at the 2 pills in the bottle, doubting. "I'll see if you have one first." Situlan picks eyebrows and looks at Elder Cheng's pale face. "Otherwise, how can I believe what you said?" Cheng Elder immediately cold sweat Sinsen, scratched to scratch a head, took the Dan medicine in Situlan's hand. "This pill is very valuable. You say I have no problem. How can I waste it so much?" Before Elder Cheng finished, he was interrupted by Situlan and said, "You give me some to eat first. Otherwise, I'm afraid your life will be wasted." Elder Cheng took a deep breath and looked left and right. Then he finally poured out a pill and put it in his hand. He pretended to put it in his mouth. But suddenly, Elder Cheng threw the pill in his hand at Situlan's face. In an instant, all the people around rushed up and separated Situlan from Elder Cheng. At this time, there were so many people that Situlan had no way to play. He had to watch the people around him take Elder Cheng away. In an instant, a large group of soldiers rushed in to surround Situlan and fight each other. Situlan couldn't help laughing. Looking at the group of soldiers in front of him, he suddenly sighed, "I don't want to fight the innocent. Today, I just want to get back the antidote. I don't have any other plans. So I think you'd better go back. Otherwise, I think it's a very helpless thing to fight. What do you say?" The soldiers in front of him felt that Situlan was very powerful. At this time, when he heard what Situlan said, he had already backed out. He turned his head and looked at Elder Cheng, who was protected by the soldiers. But Elder Cheng was cold and said in a loud voice, "Who killed this man today? I'll give you 30 taels of gold." As soon as I heard of gold, everyone became interested and turned around with high morale. Seeing this, Situlan just sighed and shook his head. He suddenly took the sword in his hand and rushed to a soldier in front of him. The person in front of has not yet reacted to come over, has already been beaten on the stomach by Situlan's fist, instantly scream, have already fallen on the ground to roll. Originally not big room, the moment is narrow as if nothing can be installed. Surrounded by a lot of soldiers, but Situlan didn't look at them at all. He turned to Elder Cheng and said indifferently, "You give me the antidote, and I'll leave immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Your soldiers are not my opponents." What Situlan said doesn't make sense. In fact, Cheng Changlau's face is pale and dignified. Of course, he knows that the strength of the man in front of him is unfathomable. The invisible pressure makes everyone around him turn pale. He bowed his head and pondered for a while, then suddenly sneered, "But if I tell you that there is no antidote for this poison, what should you do?" In Situlan's eyes, he was furious. Regardless of the sword in front of him, he went straight to Elder Cheng's direction. It seems that I was too kind to you just now. With that, he knocked all the soldiers down on the ground and clawed them toward Elder Cheng's neck. Elder Cheng was scared. He didn't have time to react at such a fast speed. He had been pressed on the wall by Situ Lan and couldn't breathe at all. His face turned red instantly. It seems that Situ Lan is really angry. He grabs Elder Cheng's neck and makes his face blue. His feet are struggling on the wall, but there is no way to get rid of him. Tell me where the antidote is? Situ Lan's eyes seem to be bursting with fire. Elder Cheng points to his neck in a hurry. His face turns red. He can't breathe at all. His eyes turn around and he's about to breathe. Situ Lan raises his mouth and puts Elder Cheng on the ground. Elder Cheng sat down on the ground, coughing violently, panting hard, as if the wine was about to pass. Situ Lan sat down and looked at Elder Cheng on the ground. He didn't see how many people were around him. I'll give it to you. Elder Cheng gasped and coughed twice. He trembled and walked to the cupboard, opened the door, took out a small porcelain vase from the innermost lattice, and handed it to Situ Lan. This is the antidote. It's definitely not wrong. The poison I gave her is a chronic poison. It's nothing to insist on for half a month. Nevertheless, it's very easy to fry everyday boil. Take this antidote, not half a column of incense time, will see obvious improvement, said, looking up at Situ Lan, full of sincerity. Situ Lan snorted coldly, took the antidote in his hand, and said, if there's something wrong with eating this from the magic incense, then I'll take your life and bury it with her. Then he took the elder with one hand and said, follow me. So without waiting for Elder Cheng to react, he has already picked him up and walked out. Suddenly, behind a burst of noise. Take Elder Cheng out of the room and walk towards the residence of Magic Fragrance. All the way, Mr. Cheng faltered and couldn't keep up with Situ Lan's steps. But Situ Lan didn't care at all. He kept walking forward, but he didn't see the evil and indifferent smile on the corner of his mouth. Push the door into the room from the Magic Fragrance. From the magic incense is still dying, lying in bed, breathing has become shallow. As soon as Situ Lan throws Elder Cheng to the ground, Xiaoren immediately pulls out the sword and puts it on Elder Cheng's neck. He says, Situ Lan will help from the magic incense, the pill into his mouth, a fight into the air, the moment the pill into a warm current, into the throat from the magic incense. Not long after that, he suddenly breathed a breath from the magic incense, and then opened his eyes. Situ Lan looked at it and finally vomited. He turned to Elder Cheng and said coldly, I'm afraid you still have a little conscience. Cheng Chang lowered his head and said nothing. He closed his eyes as if he was going to sleep. Xiaoran, find 2 people to take care of Elder Cheng, and let him go back early tomorrow morning. He turned his head to see Tsong Huanxiang, who was sleeping on the bed, and said with a sneer, who knows if this man has any conspiracy? I'm afraid that there will be something wrong with this medicine before tomorrow morning. Seeing from the face of the magic fragrance become ruddy, Xiaoran's eyes are out of the light. Although still a cold face appearance, but the corner of the mouth has already faintly raised a smile, nodded, will Qing elder lift to walk toward the outside. Situ Lan finally vomited a breath, sat for a while from the magic fragrance side, got up to walk toward own room. There is always an ominous premonition in his heart. Situ Lan feels that he should improve his state quickly, otherwise, it will be difficult to deal with the next things. So he closed his eyes and sat on the bed. In the morning of the second day, Situ Lan opened his eyes and felt clear and comfortable. When he inspected his body, he found that his fighting spirit was more overflowing and seemed to be about to break through, but he always kept at such a level and made no progress at all. This distressed him so much that he sighed, got up and walked out of the room. Outside the gate, there was a sudden noise, which made Situ Langton stop and look at the door. I saw a large number of soldiers at the door, which seemed to be Elder Cheng's private army. At this time, they had surrounded the mansion of magic incense, but there were still a lot of people. At this time, they were all outside shouting, "Let Elder Ching go." There was an ominous premonition in his heart, which made Situ Lan frown tightly and walk towards the room of magic fragrance. But see, Xiaoran has come out of his own room, eyes seem to be very anxious. We hit the trick. Situ Lan's heart sank and he didn't speak. He just hooked up with Xiaoran's shoulder, pulled him into the room of Huaxiang, closed the door of the room, and said, "Is it a trick that Elder Ching asked me to catch him yesterday, just gave them a proper reason to find trouble with Huaxiang?" With this thought, Situ Lan couldn't help thinking. Yes, he was too worried last night, so that he ignored the key problem. That's why he could walk out of Elder Cheng's house so easily. It should be a bloody fight. He sighed helplessly, patted his forehead, turned his head and looked out at the noisy crowd. Suddenly, his head was big. Let's let Elder Cheng go now. Otherwise, I'm afraid things will get more and more serious. Xiao Ran seems very nervous. But Song Huanxiang and Situ Lan shook their heads together, and they didn't agree with him. In fact, what they need is a reason. No matter what you do now, it will become their handle. Situ Lan Rai smile, it seems that today's war is inevitable. She turned her head and looked at Song Huanxiang. She was sitting on the bed with her hair falling down. She looked weak and beautiful. She followed her hair and said with a smile, "It's okay. Anyway, we have to fight with him sooner or later. If you are here now, we may have a better chance of winning." Situ Lan, some complex looking at from the magic incense, don't know what to say. Xiao Ran, help me up. From the magic incense way, today we take this Elder Cheng as a chip, to negotiate. Xiao Ran obediently walked to from fantasy side, will help her from the bed, help her put on clothes, silent. From the magic incense let Xiao Ran help himself to tie up his hair, turn to Situ Lan smile, you don't have to be sad, anyway, such a thing, every country or tribe is inevitable. Turning around, he took out a small bottle from the cupboard beside his bed, handed it to Situ Lan and said, "Here is the pill for cultivation, which can help you improve your state quickly. You might as well try this one. It may not help you much, but I can only help you so much." Situ Lan was stunned to see from Huanxiang. After a long time, he suddenly pushed back with a bitter smile, "No, I'd better leave this precious thing to you. Now is the time of weakness. I think it's just right for you. Take it." He pushed back from the magic incense and said, "Now you are also helping me. If this little power can help you break through, it will also help me, don't you think?" In this way, Situ Lan could not refuse, so he had to thank him for taking the pills, stood up and walked towards the door. "I'll go outside to have a look." So he pushed the door and went out. As soon as I got to the door, I saw the guard standing in front of the door in distress, motioning to the guard to open the door. I saw Elder Li and Elder Zhao standing in front of me, with countless people behind me, looking at Situ Lan in front of me. This is the man. It was this man who took Elder Ching away yesterday. Someone suddenly shouts at the side, Situ Lan hasn't said anything, the people below suddenly get excited. As soon as I got to the door, I saw the guard standing in front of the door in distress, motioning to the guard to open the door. I saw Elder Li and Elder Zhao standing in front of me, with countless people behind me, looking at Situ Lan in front of me. This is the man. It was this man who took Elder Ching away yesterday. Someone suddenly shouts at the side, Situ Lan hasn't said anything, the people below suddenly get excited. A large group of people are about to rush up and peel Situ Lan alive. Situ Lan turned his head and looked behind him. With the help of Xiao Ran, he came out of the room and stood beside him. Suddenly, those people under the stairs did not speak. Although these people are the private soldiers of these elders, the authority of magic incense still exists. Ladies and gentlemen. From the magic incense to the door, without leaving a trace, he reached out and grabbed Situ Lan's clothes, forced himself to stand in front of these people, cold sweat, but as always, today, I think we can make an exchange with Elder Cheng. A words, immediately let the people under the steps have no voice, looking at from magic incense silent. Ching Chong is always in our hands, but I won't catch any elder without any reason. Anyway, you are all the people who helped my father. From Huan Xiang, he gasped, his face was a little pale, and his hand holding Situ Lan's clothes was more and more tight, but his face was calm. If you have to fight me, I'm afraid I won't be kind to you anymore. Then he turned and walked towards the house. Please, everyone. The island leader will not send me away. If I didn't think that the people would suffer from the war, I'm afraid I would not have been soft-hearted. So, please take care of yourself. Say, pull Si-Tu Lan and Xiao Ran, turn round to walk into the room, bang of shut the door. Suddenly, there was silence outside, and there was no more noise. Before he got to the room, he had already sat down on the ground with his legs softened and his clothes soaked in cold sweat. Although the poison is relieved, the side effects will take some time. Now, it's still too reluctantly. He looked up at Situ Lan and said with a bitter smile. Situ Lan pursed her mouth, frowned and watched from the magic fragrance for a long time. Finally, she turned her head and said to Xiao Ran, "You can carry from the magic fragrance to the house." With that, he walked straight to his room without saying another word. From Huan Xiang's eyes, staring at Situ Lan's leaving direction without blinking, tears in his eyes, I don't know what he is thinking. Back in his room, Situ Lan immediately sat down with his knees crossed, ate the pills and began to concentrate on cultivation. At night, the whole island is still and noisy. We may feel that the atmosphere of the whole island is not right, but the people are still happy. There was a sudden roar in the sky, and suddenly thunder and dark clouds rolled over the whole island of Wingo. The people of Wengo Island look at the sky strangely. The sky is like the lightning of a giant dragon flying through the dark clouds. The thunder cloud, however, slowly gathered in the sky above the magic incense mansion. Suddenly, a gust of wind made the soldiers surrounded by the outside look pale, pointing to the thunder cloud in the sky and talking about it. It seems that Situ Lan is going to be robbed. From the magic incense suddenly stand up, rushed to the window, looking at the black clouds outside the window, eyes suddenly full of hope. Thunder clouds were shining silver under the black sky, splitting the night sky. Someone's going to rob. The soldiers standing outside kept shouting, pointing to the night sky, and their tone was full of excitement. But the elders could not help frowning and looking at the growing thunder clouds in the sky. Their expressions became more and more serious. Situ Lan sat in the room, frowning, very serious, did not expect, eat this pill, unexpectedly once will enhance the strength up, attracted thunder robbery. I didn't expect that in a short time, the thunder clouds rolled, and the first thunder had been thundering down. Suddenly, the roof of the room was pierced into a big hole, which made Situ Lan's chi and blood surge, and the fighting spirit suddenly enveloped his whole body, but he still spewed out a big mouthful of blood. From the magic fragrant heart tight, almost didn't want to rush out of the room. Only heard outside the mansion, do not know who ordered, attack in. Then the door was smashed open. Countless soldiers rushed out and ran to the mansion of magic incense, shouting to hand over Elder Cheng. With a loud bang, the whole night sky seemed to be torn. The thunder hit the house again, and suddenly the whole courtyard was bright. Everyone was stunned and looked at the sky. Suddenly, I didn't know who it was. I yelled, "Go and attack the man who robbed me." He's at his weakest now, so countless soldiers around suddenly turned around and rushed to Situ Lan's room. Situ Lan, who was concentrating on the robbery, started to smile and spit out a mouthful of blood. He suddenly drew out his sword and held it high to the night sky. There was another loud noise. A sky thunder split the roof of the house and attacked towards Situ Lan. But Situ Lan didn't hide at all. He let the sky thunder, like a giant dragon, entangle his sword and extend downward. A group of people suddenly broke into the door and ran towards Situ Lan, shouting, but the man who took the lead was suddenly stunned. His face turned pale, and he stepped back 2 steps. Even his voice changed, "Go away. Everybody, Get out of here after a word, the whole team has fallen into chaos, the people behind have no time to react, the people in front have retreated, so after a while of chaos, everyone is in a mess. Situ Lan looked at the scene, laughed, spat out a mouthful of blood, endured the pain of being struck by lightning, and stabbed the sword with thunder towards a group of people. Sure enough, there was a flash of light, and 3 thunders split down in an instant. They gathered together on Situ Lan's sword and hit the crowd in front of him. There was a loud roar and a sudden howl. As soon as the smoke passed, there were countless people lying on the ground, dying and groaning. The soldiers outside were terrified, retreated, and no one dared to step forward. The whole mansion has been broken through a big hole, and half of the houses have collapsed, which makes everyone see the scene in the house. Situ Lan holds his sword high, and the whole sword body is wrapped by lightning. The powerful aura makes countless people around him change color. I don't think we can save Ching Chong today. Elder Li said to Elder Zhao that he turned around and left in a hurry, but he was held by Elder Zhao's arm. That's not good. It's agreed that today we will destroy the magic incense together. Don't you see that now? Where do we have a chance to attack them? The words haven't finished. In front of Situ Lan, hand carrying long sword, toward Li Zhao 2 people gallop but go, mercilessly stab past. All of a sudden, Li and Zhao felt a flash of golden light in front of them. Before they could avoid it, they screamed out and were struck by lightning. When they landed, their faces were covered with blood and they were about to die. Situ Lan looked at the sky and gave a wry smile. He saw that the thunder clouds in the sky became smaller and disappeared gradually, but the sky was covered with dark clouds. Then, it began to rain. Situ Lan Chang breathed a breath, and looked forward. He saw that he ran out of the house beside him and came to him anxiously, but he couldn't hear what he said from Huan Xiang. Then the world began to shake violently, and then nothing could be seen. When he opened his eyes again, the pain almost spread all over his body, and he couldn't help humming. There was a rush of footsteps around him, followed by the sound of opening the door and shouting, "Young Xia Situ, wake up." He's awake after a while. The figure of Huaxiang appeared beside Situ Lan. With tears in her eyes, she reached out to hold Situ Lan's hand. "You're awake." "I'm scared to death." Some uncomfortable, Situ Lan does not leave a trace of his hand from the hands of magic incense out, sat up. "I sleep for a long time." "That's natural. You've been sleeping for 3 days. Our island owner hasn't had much rest these 3 days and has been taking care of you," said the little maid. Suddenly let Situ Lan very guilty, looking at from the magic fragrance has green-black eyes, some moved in the heart. "I have nothing to do." He turned to look out of the window, but there was a moment of silence outside the window and asked Song Huan Xiang around him, "Has everything been settled?" From the magic incense quickly nodded and laughed, "Solved. Elder Zhao and Elder Li have been killed by Tianlei. Elder Cheng is no longer in good shape. I've demobilized their private troops and re-interrogated and examined the elder. All the elders with different intentions have been demobilized." Hearing this, Situ Lan finally breathed out and laughed, "That's really great." The rebellion, which had been strangled in the cradle before it started, ended in failure because of Situ Lan's robbery. Wengo Island was full of praise, and many people began to praise the rare battle. Sitalan and Song Huanxiang sat in the tavern, drinking wine, listening to the storyteller around them, who wrote the whole mythical battle into a story and told it in the tavern, but they had no choice but to smile. "These people are really exaggerating. We don't have people like you here. It's amazing to see such a scene." From the magic Xiang side, smiled gently, did not just meet the kind of enchantment, but revealed a touch of tenderness and sweetness. "It's time I went to my friend," Situ Lan said, picking up the glass and sipping it lightly, with a slight reluctant tone. "Little brother Shaoran really likes you. I don't think you should turn away this intention." Hearing this sentence, the whole person from Huanxiang was stunned. For a long time, he suddenly burst out with a laugh. "You are still there. It's true. I can see the child's feelings for me. After a pause, he sighed, but he will find a better woman than me. To him, I am just a confidant who is also a teacher and a friend. The setting sun gives the whole island a layer of orange. In the evening, the whole island is salty and wet by the sea breeze. When are you going to leave? From Huanxiang to see Situ Lan in a daze. Situ Lan just reflected this and turned to Tsong Huanxiang. By the way, I suddenly want to consult the owner of Tsong Island about something. Hearing the title of the island leader, Tsong Huanxiang couldn't laugh or cry. She nodded in a hurry. Just tell me straight. You have helped me so much. I will try my best to help you if I can help you. After a quiet thought, Situ Lan said slowly, my friends and I were attacked when we used the teleport array in the border of Mudu. We were scattered all over the world. Now I need to go back to them. Looking at the serious eyes from the magic incense, Situ Lan lowered his head again. I want to ask, is there a transmission array that can be used by me? Hearing the 3 words of the teleportation array, he was dumbfounded and broke into laughter. He held his forehead and sighed. Why didn't you say you need teleportation array earlier? Otherwise, I would have left long ago. Why wait until so many things have happened here? Standing up, smiling at Situ Lan, he walked out of the tavern. Let's go, I'll take you. Situ Lan Leng did not respond, but feel his hand was caught from the magic incense, toward the pub. If you leave here, can you still remember me? From Huanxiang, he didn't turn his head, but Situ Lan saw something glittering and translucent and fell to the ground. It has been more than half a day since the tomb of the ancient summoner was opened. Some people who searched for many treasures felt that they could no longer snatch other treasures, so they searched for the exit and left the tomb. However, when they left, they found that all the treasures in their personal space disappeared, and they all suspected that the previous tomb experience was just a dream. What's the matter? It's clearly in the space. The leader of a small team looked at the things in his space bracelet and said with a puzzled look on his face. This is a temporary team. When this happens, everyone thinks it's the captain's embezzlement. How can it be? Do you have any other space? We're moving things while we're not paying attention. The captain has to look at all the places on his body, but he still has nothing. Immediately after that, there were other teams around, which also had a similar situation. What's the matter? It's clear that we're separate. Why is it all gone? Another team leader also anxiously said. One team after another had this problem. Finally, the first team leader gritted his teeth and said, there must be something wrong with this grave. Let's go in again while we still have time. Maybe there are too many teams with problems, so people also have doubts in their hearts. They all nodded and agreed with the captain. A small group of people rushed into the tomb again, afraid that the time of closing the tomb is coming. They missed a chance to get rich. And in the location of the central square of the tomb, Xiaojiu sensed that someone had entered the tomb again. He couldn't help but hook his mouth and said sarcastically, it seems that someone has found something wrong. People around her looked at her suspiciously, but Xiaojiu just laughed and closed her eyes. Like Xiaojiu, Yunwu, who has absorbed part of her strength, can feel that there seems to be an inexplicable connection between herself and the tomb. The map of the tomb looms in her mind. However, whenever Yunwu wants to go to a detailed inspection of a certain place, it always becomes blurred. It seems that we haven't absorbed enough. Cloud Dance thought in the heart. Now she has absorbed it for more than an hour. If it is used as a pill, even the power of high-level pill should be absorbed almost, but the power transmitted by Jade Brand is still endless. Cloud Dance heart rate move, once again accelerated the speed of their absorption. Huge energy is constantly infused into Cloud Dance's body, and the force of elements becomes more and more abundant, even the fighting spirit in the body becomes more and more. Before long, Yunwu suddenly felt that the power he absorbed was blocked. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't improve a little, and the original realm of rising water and rising ship also stopped. Cloud Dance knows that it has encountered the first bottleneck. Originally, it was just the strength of Emperor Wu in the early stage. At this time, if we can make a breakthrough, we can directly reach the middle stage of Emperor Wu, and it is less than 2 hours before she absorbs strength. It's going to break through. Dragon Qing Evil has been closed, eyes suddenly opened, looking at the cloud figure, eyes full of thick doting. This voice is not loud words attracted many people's attention, so people have to look at the past, full of expectations. The cloud dance in the cultivation doesn't know all this. Although the realm can't be further improved, the cloud dance is still absorbing power. Those forces are circling in the body, moistening every inch of the body. After Yunwu has tempered all the muscles, all the forces are gathered together. The bottleneck is near, but Yunwu doesn't break through it by force. She knows that she has absorbed too much power this time. Only when she has accumulated enough power, can she use these forces to make a natural breakthrough, which is the best way to improve her strength. If you break through the bottleneck rashly, it will inevitably make your strength become fragile after promotion. With the accumulation of strength, Yunwu is not worried at all. Finally, after a long time, the power finally accumulated to a certain extent. In the quiet environment, it seemed that there was a bow sound as if some estrangement had been suddenly broken, and people around felt as if their heart had trembled with this slight sound, and they were afraid to stare at the clouds. Bottleneck, break it for me. Cloud dance, cold drink in the heart, that has accumulated for a long time the strength of a drum, that for many people may not be able to break through the bottleneck in a lifetime, in front of that huge force instantly become fragile. After a slight boo, it's broken. Originally accumulated to the extreme of the power of the moment, like a flood opened the valve in general, roaring into a new realm. The middle period of Emperor Wu. The middle period of Emperor Wu. Huidong said in shock. This sound immediately shocked the people of Flint Town sitting around. In a short period of time, Cloud Dance was directly promoted to a higher level, and it was still the realm of Emperor Wu. Huidong was a little lost, thinking about why he didn't have such good luck. But when I think about it, I don't have that kind of talent at all. Even if I get the Jade Medal, I may not be able to enter the realm of Emperor Wu. What's more, Huisher Town has a friend from the middle of Emperor Wu from now on. As the city leader, this is a great good thing. Sister Yun is so powerful. Hua Linger's eyes twinkled like little stars. He looked at Yunwu admiringly and said, I don't know when Sister Yun will wake up. It's early. Dragon Qing Evil Light said, just up a level, ancient summoner inheritance, cannot be so simple. As soon as the words came out, people just felt more expectant and looked at Yunwu with more fiery eyes. But in the practice of cloud dance, I don't know how the people around me react. Cloud Dance only feel that his body from the previous moment of full moment become incomparably empty, faster than before, I do not know how many times faster, more ferocious absorption of the huge power of the jade. It seems to feel the increase of suction in Yunwu's body, and the jade brand is not to be outdone. More and more power and speed are instilled into Yunwu's body. His body is like a person who has been marching in the desert for a long time and needs to drink water urgently. He is absorbing those forces uncontrollably. Little by little, it's time for the grave to close. The grave is going to be closed. Are we? Huidong reckoned the time. In fact, from just now on, he always wanted to remind everyone that everyone was so fascinated by Yunwu's promotion that no one was willing to leave. Until this time, if he didn't start to find the exit, he was afraid that he would stay here forever. What's the hurry? Small Nine Light said, as long as the master became the master of the tomb, you are still afraid of their own out of it. Fire Tingaleng, this just remember oneself really some think too much. Just. Small Nine voice a turn, continue to say. Just what? Huidong asked suspiciously. Even if you can accept the inheritance, whether the host's body can withstand such a huge force is also a very important question for you. If you can't bear it. Later, Xiaojiu didn't continue to talk, just as if to say to himself, she even passed 3 tests, just inheritance, should be able to bear it. Huidong was surprised. It seems that this matter is not absolute. Miss Cloud Dance has broken through again. There was a cry of surprise. There is a sharp-eyed person who has found the changes of Cloud Dance all over his body, which is much faster in the beginning, and the speed of absorption is speeded up again in an instant. And because he is closer to the Cloud Dance, so at this time is more clearly feel the Cloud Dance body to upload the pressure than before more frightening. The late period of Emperor Wu. Would Xiuming shocked said, originally their strength is almost the same, but now Cloud Dance even promoted 2 levels, he really can't catch up. All kinds of thoughts flashed in Mu Xiuming's mind for a moment. He was not only happy for the improvement of Cloud Dance's strength, but also lost for the distance between himself and her. Oh my god, it's the late period of Emperor Wu. The realm of Emperor Wu can even be upgraded 2 levels in a short day, it's amazing. Look! Miss Yunwu didn't even wake up. Will she continue to upgrade? The sound of discussion rang out one after another, and Huding's just shaken mind was pressed down by this curiosity. Then calculate the time, the tomb opened a total of 12 hours, that is, a whole day, and now there are about 2 hours to close. If you find the exit faster, you should have 1 hour. Let's wait another hour. Huding thought, so he sat down again. He is the head of a city, no matter what time to take his own town as the main, even if Cloud Dance for him is worth making friends. But compared with the town, he can't stay here all the time. A large part of this tomb is the elite of Flint Town. If Yunwu fails to accept the inheritance, they will stay here forever. Even if it's only 1 in 10,000, he can't let himself gamble on it. Up to now, Cloud Dance has completely fallen into the cultivation. It doesn't know what's going on outside. It only knows that with a little improvement of its strength, its body absorbs power faster and faster, but what's faster is the speed of instilling power into its body. It seems that the improvement of his strength is a kind of provocation for him, or to show his huge strength. The power in the Jade brand is like wrapping all the Cloud Dance together. Yunwu only felt that it was hard for her to absorb power, not that she could not absorb power. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.